All right, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing Wednesday. I want to welcome you back to an amazing live stream that is scheduled ahead for us today. We've got some good stuff that we're going to be talking about. Before we jump into it, let's make sure that the tubes have connected themselves over on Locals, on YouTube, on Rumble, and all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. We'll give you a preview here of what we're talking about today. We had some big, devastating news come out for the Kamala campaign. You can see that the Teamsters union is not going to be endorsing Kamala. Womp womp. And so you can see that's going to be a blow to Democrats. And I know we're also talking about Diddy today, so this means like it's a devastating development, okay? But we've also got more. We'll talk about what the Teamsters said specifically. Democrats are not happy about this, saying this has not happened in decades. In fact, this hasn't happened since 1996, I believe it was. And so they're all trying to figure out what this means because there was a big shift here. Turns out the union Teamster folks, they actually liked Joe Biden a lot more than they like Kamala Harris. And we're asking ourselves, is this little development, is this something that's indicative of a much broader trend? Is this just one little data point that shows a much bigger trend across the country? We sure hope so. And we think that it is. Now, you've also got some other clips that are percolating around here. People are getting tired of Kamala's Kamala. Even Dana Bash is saying it's like a drinking game. She just repeats her tired talking points over and over and over and around we go. And so we'll give some updates there and see what's cooking. We've also got some updates on some of the court cases that are related to Trump. We had a time change with the second Trump attempted assassin named Ryan Wesley Ruth. So we're still going to come back on Monday for his detention hearing, but they changed the time. So that's about the update there. We covered it. But there was more. We also see that apparently, according to a recent poll, 28% of Democrats now think it would be better if Trump actually got taken out, which is just sick. And Trump is now asking for some additional time in the 11th Circuit. So this is the Jack Smith case. Jack Smith, of course, is appealing the dismissal of the real boy case. He says, I am a real boy. And Judge Eileen Cannon said, no, you're not. Get out of here. And he's going up to the 11th Circuit. And he's like, will you listen to me, please? At the 11th Circuit. And so Trump is agreeing and asking for an extension of time. And so we'll go through this. You can see Jack Smith is not opposing this. He shouldn't be opposing anything, since he's not even real. Why is he even allowed to show up in the courtroom? You're not a real attorney. Get out of here. Go become a U.S. attorney. Go get appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Not going to happen. So we'll talk about all that. Then we're going to turn our attention. Actually, we'll start today with Diddy, so we can just clear that up. But Diddy was in court again today, and he was trying to get out of custody yesterday. We covered this. And he explained that he wanted to post bond, and the judge held him in custody. He was in front of this judge yesterday. Her name was Robin Tarnofsky. And she says, you're not going anywhere, buddy. So then he appealed it. Today, he's in front of a different judge, and we're going to see he's in front of Judge Andrew L. Carter Jr., who they were in there today. They were making similar arguments to yesterday. And so we got some fun stuff to go through there. I also want to call our attention to these prosecutors. Now, we saw this yesterday on the show. This is very curious. I was reading through a list of all these prosecutors, and nothing really stood out about it. I'm like, okay, a bunch of prosecutors. Oh, gosh. But if you read them, you'll notice these are all the Diddy prosecutors. Just, see if you can identify a pattern here that escaped yours truly yesterday. But one would be Meredith Foster, Emily A. Johnson, Madison Reddick Smizer, and Christy Slavic, and Mitzi Steiner. Well, they're all female, obviously. So you go, oh, that's curious. So it's a group of the female prosecutor Avengers who are coming out, who are now going to be prosecuting Diddy. And so as we go through a lot of this, that's why it's going to sound like what it sounds like. But what's also curious about this is our friends over at Marco Polo, our friend Garrett Ziegler, who we're going to be talking to here soon, has indicated that Mitzi Steiner shows up in the report on the Biden laptop. Oh, very curious, isn't it? She's in the report. And so what's she doing there? Well, it has to do with Project Veritas and the Ashley Biden diary. So we'll go through that. More details from our friends at MarcoPoloUSA.org, doing good work over there. So we'll go through that. We'll also go through the X script, courtesy of Inner City Press. Matthew Russell Lee presiding over the X script forum. And so he was there in court going through what happened with Diddy, and we'll review some other filings as well. But so as you can see, we've got some good stuff to get to, my friends. Very glad and grateful you're here today. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a great week. Wednesday's kind of a nice little midweek break. Glad you're here. Hopefully you got to join us this morning for our members only stream. We live streams in the morning where we talk about a bunch of other stuff that we can't get to here due to time and other items. But this morning we're talking about all of these electronic devices popping off all over there in the Middle East and Lebanon and elsewhere, and hit the highlights on that. And we also saw this morning there was allegedly a bomb scare this morning or something. There was a suspect that was fleeing the scene. Trump is set to be speaking about 1 hour from now. And so depending on where we're at, we'll jump over there or send you over there. But he's there in New York, and there was apparently a bomb sniffing dog that set something off. Somebody reported something. They came back out, said that there were no explosives. So it's not a third assassination attempt, but who can you believe these days? So glad you're here. If you want to become a member, we'd love to have you. We have links down in the description below. We go live at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern. We stream for about an hour. It's a much more casual conversation. We have some fun. So check it out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, or become a member on YouTube, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. And if you just joined today, check out the stream from this morning because it was some good stuff. All right, so let's zoom in on all of this. Thanks for letting me lay out the foundation, the framework for what we're doing today. But let's get into it because we've got an update. Diddy back in court, trying to get out of court, trying to get out of custody and go back home. His defense team has made a big proposal telling the judge, we'll give you basically everything. Okay, we're trying to sell the plane. We'll give up Diddy's passport. We'll give up the family's passport. He's sticking around, but the judge yesterday said, no, you're not going anywhere. So you see on the 17th, we saw this docket entry number 8, said that Judge Robin F. Tarnofsky, she came down and said, no, you're not going anywhere. Okay, you've got a tendency to violence. You've got a propensity to be a flight risk. You've got a history of obstruction of justice and so on. And so we're not letting you out of custody. Now we fast forward today and we're back in court. And the government has now responded to the request for an appeal. And then Combs, Diddy, Puff Daddy, was in court today trying to get out of custody for the second time. But this is now going to Judge Andrew Carter Jr. And so let's see what the U.S. government has said in response when they are still fighting to keep Diddy in custody. Now, what's curious about this prosecution is it is led by an all-female team. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Madison Reddick Smizer, Christy Slavic, and Mitzi Steiner all coming together as the Power Puff Daddy prosecutors. Yeah. So you can see that's who's going to be leading the charge, Assistant United States Attorneys, and they're referencing Mark Anganilafilo and Tenny Garagos, who I believe is related to Mark Garagos, another infamous defense attorney. But what's curious about this is, according to our friends over at MarcoPoloUSA.org, which has the report on the Biden laptop, Mitzi Steiner has had some overlap as a U.S. attorney, as a prosecutor, with some other people you may know and appreciate. In fact, remember when we had the Ashley Biden laptop problem, the saga where the FBI raided Project Veritas? according to the report on the Biden laptop at marcopolusa.org, they say throughout this investigation, the New York Times was illegally receiving tips from the Southern District of New York, which is where we're at now. Namely, prosecutor Mitzi Shanna Steiner and Magistrate Judge Sarah Cave sought and approved the raids of Project Veritas. Oh, which even liberal civil rights groups stridently opposed. So that's this woman right here, Mitzi Steiner. Looks like that's her name. And you can see Mitzi Steiner is attorney, U.S. attorney. She's worked as a foreign law clerk to the Supreme Court of Israel, as a law clerk on the Second Circuit for Judge Robert Sack and other people. She's a graduate of Yale, where she served as the executive editor on Yale Law and so on. She served as a scheduler and executive assistant for the ambassador to the UN. And she served as a White House intern for the Office of the Chief of Staff prior to that. So there's a photo of Steiner and Obama. And so these are always, very interesting things. It's like, you start to see patterns that identify, you start to identify these patterns. We see situations with Weinstein, and obviously that was exploitative, right? He was exploiting women, and I think that was crystal clear. I don't know if there was compromise in there, but certainly there were problems with his prosecution, no doubt about that. We saw a ton of corruption in his case. We've covered that here. And I'm not defending him, but we don't like corrupt prosecutors either. So we have situations with Weinstein. Epstein was something that developed, and he was favorable. He was untouchable for a long time. And then all of a sudden, Epstein was touchable. I don't know what happened there. But then you have a guy like Diddy, who's also untouchable for decades. His whole brand is backhanding his hoes or whatever. And you go, what? Now suddenly he's a problem? And now we're just going to start indicting him? Why? Because some video leaked that one time? Okay. So the pattern that is interesting is that you have these prosecutors who will then go and execute raids. Did Diddy have compromise on bad other individuals that they needed to reclaim? Did Epstein have the same? Was he not playing ball anymore? Did they need to go regain the compromise, the bad files from Project Veritas, raided them so that they could go recapture that? And, Mitzi Steiner, she's just there writing search warrants. Oh, yeah, here you go. Yeah, let's get a warrant. Probable cause, whatever you need. And so these prosecutors, right, they're part of this institution that is riddled with corruption. And it's interesting when you see them show up in multiple places, like the raid of Diddy and the raid of Project Veritas and others. Again, not excusing Diddy or Epstein. It's just curious how our government suddenly starts to spring into action when there's suddenly a little bit of scrutiny or whatever triggered this one. So we're always skeptical. Now, in this filing, you can see here is what they have submitted. On September 18th, that's the date of this recording, to the U.S. Department of Justice. They say, all right, dear Judge Carter, okay, we know we're going to be in your courtroom like in an hour, and the bail appeal is coming from Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. Love. And for the reasons set forth here, we think you should hold him in custody. Why? Diddy is a danger to the victims and to others. He's brought physical violence, and he's obstructive, and he's a risk of flight, so you got to keep him in custody. Now, the relevant detail was already set out yesterday, and we read that here. As we know, Diddy was arrested on September 16th, then arraigned before Judge Robin. That was yesterday. Now, right after that, the government sought his detention on these grounds after the arraignment. They said he's dangerous, he's going to obstruct things, and he's going to flee. Even pretrial services, the government's own independent court extended compendium, thinks that he should be in custody. Now, after an extended bail argument, the court found that Diddy had failed to rebut the presumption of detention in this case because it's a sex trafficking case. Now, Judge Tarnofsky noted that the crime of sex trafficking is something that happens behind closed doors and said that we can't monitor what you're doing behind closed doors in your little freak-offs. The court found that further detention was warranted based on Diddy's history and characteristics, saying that there are also indications in your history and your characteristics, Diddy, that I think are a reason why the presumption in favor of detention has not been rebutted. Now, prior substance abuse, and the fact that this alleged violence seems to occur hand in hand with times when you're not even in control of your own actions because of that substance abuse. Saying, Diddy, your lawyer today asked me to trust you and to trust him. And I don't know that I think you can trust yourself. And I don't believe that counsel, your lawyer, has the ability to control you. And so given the very significant concerns that I have, particularly because of substance abuse and what seems like anger issues, you're not going anywhere. And so in addition, say the prosecutors, the court noted that the weight of the evidence is significant, given that the government has proffered that there are multiple witnesses who are saying that they have witnessed significant serious violence. And they'll testify to that, presumably. Finally, the court concluded that the danger posed by Diddy was, quote, quite serious due to his access to weapons, use of violence, and coercion of witnesses. Now, this court should reach the same conclusions, saying the lower judge, Judge Tarnofsky, Robin, finding are well supported by the record, and they support holding him in custody. And the defense also fails to seriously contend with the findings that are related to his dangerousness and the inability to monitor or control him. So here's why he's dangerous. Now, despite public statements by Diddy's lawyers trying to minimize his conduct, and they did, they said, hey, if people want to freak off all over the place, they're free to freak off, okay? They want to get freaky with it. There's a whole song. Didn't he write Jiggy with it or something? Oh, no, that's Will Smith. But yeah, you know, the whole, like the rap game, right? Everybody's getting jiggy with it all over the place. So, so let them freak off is their defense. But they say no. Despite all of that, it's not minimizing. These aren't freak-offs, okay? These are people's heads getting smashed in. As alleged in counts 1 and 2, Diddy used violence, threats of violence. He used coercion to cause women to engage in commercial sex acts. In other words, he committed sex trafficking, a crime so serious that Congress has determined that there is presumptively no condition or combinations of conditions that will reasonably assure the safety that he's coming back. It's such a bad crime that we can't let you out because you're going to jail forever. Now, the defendant's crimes have spanned over a decade and continue to this year, putting others around him, including victims and other witnesses, at risk. Now, the nature of the offenses and Diddy's history demonstrates he's got to be detained. The repeated acts of domestic violence, which are recurrent, as noted by Judge Tarnofsky, often occurred behind closed doors, are not disconnected from this offense we're talking about today. The physical force and coercion that Diddy repeatedly used during and apart from the freak-offs caused the victims to engage in the sexual activity, right? So now he's going to say, no, it didn't. They came here, man. They wanted to be a part of the Diddy empire. They wanted record deals. I told them that, whatever, but they were here for that reason. And they say, well, that's sex trafficking, right? And Diddy's going to say it wasn't physical. And they say they've got videos, so it should be pretty easy to prove. Now, that is sex trafficking, they say. These acts of physical violence, of physical force, of violence, are corroborated not only through victim testimony, but also through, among other things, victim communications with Diddy spanning years of the charged time period. All right, let's just go through one of these. Okay, so victim communications. Now, victim testimony will be damning, but if it's only that, then it's a he said, she said situation, unless they bring in a bunch of witnesses and stack them on top of one another, which they will, no doubt. They did that in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Remember, they brought in 4 victims, one after another, just kind of layered it on there and kept it very narrow to Ghislaine. Curious. So they do that here, but also, among other things, victim communications with Diddy spanning years. So they're saying, like, it's kind of, they want him to talk. So the witness says, you shouldn't hit me so hard. And he's like, fine, next time I won't hit you so hard. And like, okay, there you go. You just admitted it. Witnesses also who were present during and after the freak off. So not victims, not the actual receivers of the abuse, but people who saw the abuse, which is bad because that's firsthand direct evidence. Video footage, same thing there, right? If he's on there, people are saying, stop, no, and he's beating the crap out of them, smashing their heads into stuff. That's not good. Photographs capturing the injuries, law enforcement records, among other things. The same is true of his coercion. Now, the communications between Diddy and multiple victims, which include communications sent as recently as this year, capture victim resistance to engaging in the freak-offs, even in light of his abusive tactics. Now, his years-long use of force and coercion speaks directly to dangerousness. To be clear, the government says, despite the indictment naming one victim in count two, and we're asking about this, how many of these victims are here and who's coming out of this? This case is not just about one victim, okay? The government's evidence to date, here we go, let's see, includes Diddy's own communications. So we're going to show you his text messages that he's going to say you're misinterpreting. Demonstrates that Diddy has used force and coercion against multiple victims, they say. In addition to these women, Diddy has assaulted a host of other individuals, including his employees and witnesses to his violence. For example, he directed his rage towards his employees and those close to victim one, who had seen him physically abuse victim one, by throwing these witnesses against walls and onto the ground, choking them, throwing objects at them, among other things. Particularly when they attempted to protect victim one. Okay, so other people are like stepping in to stop him from killing this person. And they're like, yeah, we'll testify. So it's stacked. Now, in doing so, Diddy has also demonstrated that he is not only a danger to the victims and witnesses, but is also obstructive and willing to engage in whatever is necessary, including violence, to keep them silent. All of this violence against victims, witnesses, and others factor into the analysis of his dangerousness. Now, equally as we explained otherwise, Your Honor, he's already tried to obstruct this case. He should be held accountable for this. He says that he contacted the witnesses, but that's not obstruction. But they say, yeah, it is. He's been aware of this for a long time. He knew about this since January 2024. He even knew earlier than that because they filed a civil lawsuit against him, which opened a lot of this up, November 2023. Now, counsel for Diddy even acknowledges that Diddy has contacted witnesses in this investigation. Apparently, the lawyer said, go ahead and do it. But then they say that, no, we've studiously avoided interviewing grand jury witnesses. So we're only talking to some witnesses, but not others. Prosecutors write, the fact is, Diddy has personally and repeatedly contacted multiple witnesses, including one that he himself knew was a grand jury witness. He contacted them, including at least one who he hadn't been in contact with for years, after they were served and leading up to the date before they were going to the grand jury. Now, Diddy's behavior illustrates the point that they can't even control this guy. So contrary to the counsel's protestations to the contrary, there's also ample evidence from which to infer that Diddy's contacts are not innocuous. The government has multiple examples where he's trying to feed victims false narratives of events that they observed or that they personally experienced, right? No, that's not what happened. Remember, you took those drugs. You wanted to. And they include communications that were even made in the aftermath, which he was clearly concerned about law enforcement. For example, Diddy said something like, I can't really talk on this phone. You feel me? I'm not even supposed to be talking on the phone, he said. I can't be on these phones and crap like that. You feel me? I can't even talk on the phone. Like, please, don't send no text or do nothing. People misread and stuff. He's right about that. You got the Proud Boys sitting in prison for 24 years because of their texts on Telegram. But finally, it bears noting that within the first 24 hours of this case's unsealing, there are already new concerns about new witness interference, as well as interference with a fair trial based on counsel's attempts to discredit one of the victims. As the lower judge wrote in her earlier decision, one of the pertinent concerns here is the power imbalance in this case. Diddy, as alleged in the indictment, is a man of immense power and influence. Consequently, he can coerce victims. Just yesterday, during the bail argument, defense counsel impugned the allegations made by a victim, challenging the motivation and the timing of her claims, which, of course, we're going to do that. Did she blackmail him for $30 million? That's pretty important. In addition to being factually inaccurate, this sort of attack comes close to the limits set forth in the criminal rules, that you can't go after the victim. Victims have victims' rights, right? They can't be like abused by defense attorneys or whatever the rules are in their local rules. It can also be expected to intimidate other witnesses who feel tremendous pressure to not go up against the defendant, right? That's the thing. If you start belittling the defendant, the victim, then others won't come forward and it destroys the government's case. And so there's rules. The government therefore requests them not to violate this by not publicly challenging the credibility of these prospective witnesses or by publicizing information that might be admissible at trial. And the government says they're trying to obstruct these proceedings now, even through the media, doing it right now by disseminating materials to the media. Now, both at argument and yesterday, they say Diddy has emphasized that he's cooperating with the government. The court should take that argument for what it is. Okay, it's theater. It's designed to convince this court that he can be trusted and he's not a flight risk. But make no mistake, Diddy's recent behavior shows he cannot be trusted or controlled. As the judge even said, your lawyer asked me to trust you and to trust him, and I don't know that I think you can trust yourself. Diddy? Indeed, since at least January, when Diddy was unquestionably aware about this, he knew he was being investigated, and he's still engaged in multiple freak-offs. Man, he can't get enough. Yeah. FBI's like knocking on his door. Hey, we're just checking on you. People are swinging from the chandeliers and stuff. He's like, you want to come in? Like, no. But we are going to note this down because we're going to be back here to arrest you in a couple months. Some involving the interstate transportation of individuals who participate has continued to use narcotics. They've contacted multiple witnesses. It's just like, he thinks he's totally untouchable. Do you know why? Because he's been untouchable for 30 years. Some of this conduct does even take place since he got in New York City. All right, so he's there. This is great. Yesterday, his defense attorneys were like, Your Honor, he's here on his best behavior. He's not a flight risk. He flew to New York in case this happened. And they're like, texting Diddy. They're like, put away the baby oil. Put it away. Cops are on the way. They're coming over now. Put it away. He's clearly not there. They say his defense attorney said that he was going to be there to sit it out. Okay, the prosecutors are rubbing their nose in this one. Yeah, they're sitting it out maybe for another reason. It's because of soreness. But the defendants, they say that Diddy's conduct is demonstrably not cooperative, okay? He's here to get his freak off, not cooperate with anything. Highlights his inability to abide by the law or counsel's directives. And so this is consistent with the law, all right? Epstein, we held in custody. The defendant's attempt to distinguish sex trafficking cases are unavailing, all right? A review of other case law, particularly where we had obstruction, showed the following. Remember, in Epstein, Judge Berman ordered the defendant detained on dangerousness and obstruction, even though it took place a year prior, U.S. versus Epstein. He said, no, he's got a pattern of sexual misconduct. He's got buying off victims and other things. In this case, they kept him in custody, denied bail in this case. Oh, also the Keith Raniere stuff, I think. Was that him? The NXIVM case. Yeah, Raniere was up here. And that's the NXIVM case, right? Noting that the defendant posed a danger to the community and didn't release him. So Diddy, you're not going anywhere. Now, finally, the new conditions that have been proposed by Diddy, they also fail to adequately protect the community against his dangerousness. These conditions don't even talk about his obstruction. Further, even though they contemplate him not having staff and visitors, they can't protect against his dangerousness. He's got assault rifles, personal assistance, security, and so he can just pop off against anybody. And so the prosecutors, they contend that this guy is seriously dangerous and no conditions of bail, no combination of release will secure his appearance, and so he should remain in custody. So they submitted that. The defense attorneys submitted their response, and then we appeared inside the courtroom, and what you'll notice is that we're back with Inner City Press presiding, Matthew Russell Lee, and he is going to walk us through what happened in the New York courtroom, and we'll go through it right now as soon as we cue this puppy up. And so let's get to it. You see, as we scroll down, we're in court. Looks like the judge is not on the bench yet, so everybody's tinkering around on their phones. But all of a sudden, the door bursts open. All rise! Judge is in the court Says, please be seated. Everybody sits down, and now we're talking about detention of Diddy. Will he be released? We're in courtroom 110. Sean Combs is at the defense table. He's still in his black shirt, though. He's not in a tan uniform. I wonder what happened. 2 U.S. Marshals are seated behind him. On the bench is Judge Andrew Carter. Now, we know why we're here. The judge says, government prosecutors, would you care to make your argument? Prosecutor Emily Johnson stands up and says, Your Honor, thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Your Honor, I want to start by just saying that these freak-offs were elaborate. They began in 2009 and they extended all the way into this year. And the freak-offs were arranged with his entourage. And Diddy used narcotics so that victims could continue and endure. Ketamine, GHB, and others. And Diddy would bring all these people into this room and he would record these freak-offs, at least in part, to use them to blackmail them. We have an email where a victim says that you were going to make me. And this prosecutor, Emily, she's like, Your Honor, I'm not going to say it on the public record. A victim says, you were going to make me, I can't even, or you were going to leak some FO type of stuff, like some F around stuff. Yeah. So a different victim wrote, Your Honor, he said he was going to expose me with the sex tape. I was drugged, is what she's going to say. And that's just 2 examples. And so, Your Honor, it's pretty rich when the defendant, Diddy, and his lawyers submit something that was filed today that accuses our victim of extorting him. $30 million is what they're claiming. Diddy's the only extorter in this courtroom, Your Honor. Now, we seized 6 guns, okay? They were in Diddy's home, and he had access to them. And so we are focused on the defaced guns now in his closet. And this is not about security, but it's about dangerousness. The security team is the same one he says would monitor him, and so he doesn't even need those guns. Now, the head of his security has now been served with a subpoena. And so given what we've learned about his role in the offensive conduct, head of security might be charged too. So, and basically the argument is Diddy's going to say, those aren't my guns. Those are my security guy's guns. And the security guy's going to say, they're not my guns. And why would a legit security guy need unserialed guns? So now about the hotel assault, says this prosecutor. Your Honor, yesterday, the defense counsel called it a fight in a relationship. That video where Diddy's running out to try to give that woman her cell phone back or something. And, you know, she slips and falls accidentally and he accidentally drags her back in while her head's banging around on the ground. It's a misunderstanding, obviously. And so the head of security has been hit with a subpoena on that. But it wasn't a fight at a hotel, okay? It was trafficking of humans. Now, the defendant, Your Honor, also had a freak-off on March 5th, 2016. And we have evidence that there was at least one commercial sex worker there in that room during the assault. She isn't even wearing shoes. Look, she's in danger, Your Honor. You see, and Diddy storms out in a towel. So we're still talking about this video. So they have one commercial sex worker there in the room. We also have a message from the victim, Your Honor, saying, I still have crazy bruising. Now, he claims that he wanted to go get his clothes back, right? He was just a misunderstanding, wanting to go get those clothes back. But that's not what happened to her here. She tried to escape a room with Diddy and a commercial sex worker, okay? She fled without shoes. She was so freaked out. She's like, I'm not putting that anywhere. Ah! And then he was chasing down. It's not funny. Now, immediately after the assault, Diddy sent these messages. He said, call me. The cops are here. I got 6 kids. Yo, please call. I'm surrounded. You going to abandon me all alone? Now, Diddy knew he had done something that could elicit a police response. And so he covered up what he did. This year after the surveillance video came out, only then did he admit that it was him. Now, yesterday it was claimed that his clothes were taken, but that's not what happened. Why drag the victim back down the hall to the room? Because she forgot something else, and he just wanted to show her what it was. He needed her help to carry it out. Yeah, probably. So the indisputable evidence makes clear you cannot take Diddy at his word. March 5th, 2016 is far from Diddy's lone act of violence and obstruction. Yeah, but nobody's charged him for any of it. And he's not even charged for the March 16th event, as far as we recall, because it's old. But freak-off activity is the core of this case. They use force, coercion, and drugs. And so our investigation is ongoing. They're probably going to charge them with more crimes. Half a dozen escorts is just the tip of the iceberg, and the number of escorts who have participated in these freak-offs. This case is charged sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. The acts were not consensual. And I want you to consider these other cases, saying the defense is arguing that anyone in a freak-off wanted to be there. Yeah, that's what they're saying. You want to get freaky, jiggy with it? Go for it, man. But that's not the law, Your Honor. They say when people are threatened with exposure and are beaten, they cannot consent. They're out of consent. That is trafficking. Victims' heads were slammed against car windows, Your Honor. Now, here is some text message, Your Honor, that we see. Someone sent Diddy this. They said, when you get effed up, Diddy, you knocked me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. Don't beat me. Now, we have witnesses who witnessed the injuries as well. This conduct happened behind closed doors, in houses, in hotel rooms, and in cars. Judge Tarnofsky was concerned enough about this that she found she did not believe that the defense counsel can control the client. And so consider the Mercedes case also in this circuit, which reversed the decision to release the defendant. So we don't want that to happen here, Your Honor. In other words, this prosecutor, we don't want you to get reversed, so don't let him out. Now let's turn to obstruction, saying witnesses have expressed extreme fear of him. They have directly contacted a victim in November of 2023. Constant contact with witnesses to the charged conduct. After a subpoena, before the government got to them, they're trying to reach out to people. Two of these examples, there are communications between Diddy and a witness. There's 13 contacts. Judge says, wait a minute, 13 contacts with two people? No, sorry, 14 contacts between the defendant and the witness, between one person. And also, he reached out to a witness that he had not been in contact with for several years after they got the subpoena. He used intermediaries to do it. And he recorded the conversation on another person's device. In November 2023, he twice called a victim. On November 19th, he received a text message from this other person, and in response, it reads, I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. 3 pages in my experience. Your Honor, Diddy has called her, gaslit her. He's trying to convince her it has been consensual, telling her, no, you wanted to do it. You liked it. Remember? You loved it. You said that. He repeatedly said he was not supposed to be speaking on the phone. He tells her, or this witness, do not text me. He said, if I support, there's nothing to worry about. And what does that mean, right? If I have the support, there's nothing to worry about. What does that mean, Your Honor? It means money. So Diddy wrote, he told his financial advisor that should not make a mistake and not get that rent paid. Don't make a mistake and not get that rent paid. Okay, that was obstruction. He was trying to pay someone off. That's what's going on here. He was feeding people with false cases. And the prosecutor says, Your Honor, I want to go through all these cases with you to show you this. And the judge says, that's not necessary. Okay, please don't lecture me on the cases. I'm familiar with those cases. Well, Your Honor, just recently, there was a civil lawsuit. Last week, Don Richard filed a civil suit. She was in a band, also with Ms. Harper. Ms. Harper issued a statement after 128 phone contacts, and so we didn't deal with Lauren Ray's case. Judge Fox ordered detention, even on one victim. But the judge found that that was corroborated by documentary evidence. And so even a judge right next door is doing this in a civil suit. And so we're good. So anything else, says the judge? Okay, got it. Anything else, prosecutor? Anything else you have for me? She says, well, a few more things. He goes, how many more things? She says, 3 minutes. Just give me 3 minutes. He says, okay, go ahead. Traveling to New York, she says, also doesn't address the fact that he's not a danger to the community. Okay, I'm seeking detention here, but I note that the bail package does not have enough conditions that focus on obstruction. And so it couldn't, okay? He's been involving other people, and so we can't let him out. Their bail package is insufficient, so he's got to stick around. Your Honor, he should be detained pending trial. Do not let him out. Okay. Judge says, okay, thank you. All right, defense, go ahead. Defense attorney Mark Ignifilo stands up. He says, Your Honor, let me start with Miss Harper. Now, I was called by her and a lawyer. I said, do you want to make a statement or not? And I later found out that she did. And then the second lawyer, Tenny Garagos, and says, Your Honor, and Miss Harper felt that she was being besmirched. And so we did speak with her at 2 a.m. on the 11th. So we did. So he did talk to her, because she felt she was being besmirched, and we talked to her at this time. So they say we reach out to victims or to other people. Miss Harper, we called her, and yeah, we did. Okay, but after speaking to her, says the judge, what would be the reason for Diddy to continue contacting her? Why? Okay, he talked to her, then she got a subpoena. After they spoke, why does he need to continue to talk to her? Well, she was concerned that she was in the media, says the defense. Another defense attorney says, and Your Honor, today, I've also brought today the head of Sage Intelligence. Okay, we are proposing that Sage Intelligence personnel, all former law enforcement, will be monitoring the residence of Mr. Combs 24/7. So we have private security. We have a security firm that will be making sure that he does not leave. They will have 1 or 2 employees there at all times. There will also be a visitor log. Okay, only pre-approved could come in. They're going to follow your court orders. We could give the list to the court of people who can come in and go. Mr. Combs will not have a cell phone or access to the internet at all. And that way, there's no witness intimidation. Okay, it's completely nullified. Like, he literally cannot get on the internet. And we'll have a visitor log. He'll basically be on home detention. So just keep him home. This is nice. If you got, about $1 billion, you can make a proposal like this because it'll cost you a lot to stand this up. It's nice to be able to make that offer. Now, having Sage Intelligence on site will do what we have to do, even 3 there if we need to. You want 3 people there? We'll put 3 people there. We don't care. If you don't believe that Mr. Combs' actions in coming to New York are only about a risk of flight, that's not true, Your Honor. It shows he is deeply respectful of this court's authority, and he's responsible. He's here. Now, Mr. Combs knew he was under investigation, and he gave us his passport. We didn't take it. This isn't defense lawyer theater like they suggest over there. We took the passports of 5 of his family members. We have a letter of intent to sell his airplane. We had 3 buyers who didn't work out. They were interested in buying it, and then they heard about the freak-offs, and they're like, somebody brings out the black light and there's like, we're not interested. Deal's off. So this defense attorney continues to go on. The judge says, can you get to the point? What's your point? It shows he's trustworthy, Judge. He's not a defendant who says, come find me. In Maxwell and Epstein, well, he cuts him off. Well, how does that relate to danger and obstruction? If he was aware in April, why was he contacting witnesses if this was coming forward? Why was he doing that? He says, Your Honor, no, he wasn't. A woman contacted him, okay? She said that she'd gotten a subpoena, and we told him, don't speak to her. So he didn't do that. So it's just, he said, okay, talk to me about danger. They say he's a danger to the community. Talk to us about danger. Your Honor, people who are dangerous and who are a danger to the community are people who are contemptuous of the court. But Mr. Combs has never been contemptuous of the court. He's always been extremely reliable. In fact, he had a case in New York in 1999. He came to court every time. He showed up on time every time, didn't have a warrant at all. Now, under your plan, says the judge, will Mr. Combs have employees who work for him? Well, Your Honor, they handle his finances. They will work for him, but they're in California. And under your plan, would Diddy be allowed to leave his residence? No, Your Honor. No, he wouldn't. He'll be there all day. And the security, they could be there in the house? Yes, Your Honor, they'll be there. They'll be there in shifts. And we could put cameras up filming 24 hours a day. They could do spot checks to make sure he's not using the internet. We can make sure it is as secure as we need to make it, okay? There are already cameras in there, so that's fine. The judge says, but the video about dangerousness, that video where he's trying to return that woman's purse or whatever, he says is troubling. He was 40-something years old. What was he doing beating women in hotel rooms and dragging them back inside? What's going on? Oh, Your Honor, well, he realized he has a problem with drug addiction and anger, which is perfectly valid. I mean, Hunter Biden hasn't been charged with anything. He beat the hell out of a bunch of women. There's videos of him. He had crack all over the place. He's got crack at the White House. So who cares, right? If good enough for Hunter Biden, man, and for all of the Democrats, the entire Democratic Party who excuse that, then it's good enough for Diddy, all right? He thought, I donate to Hillary Clinton. I donate to Democrats. I'm a big Democratic donor, you know, all the things. So he thought it was good enough. So it's drug addiction and anger. Should be case closed. Hunter Biden didn't even get charged. The DOJ was covering up for him for years. So he went into rehab for a period of time. And the woman in the video also went into rehab around the same time. Okay, so there was just a drunken, cracked out, freak off spat. Says they loved each other too, just like Fannie and Nathan. The written messages are heartbreaking, Judge. Now, the sex and the violence were totally separate, okay? They were motivated by separate things. The way they chose to be intimate, the way they would bring a third person on, okay? They chose that. Might not be your cup of tea, but if they want to bring in a third party, they're free to do that. Now, Judge says, all right, well, what does that have to do with him punching her? Or throwing a vase at her? What does that have to do? He wanted to give her flowers. Here, honey, sorry that you tripped. Have some flowers. Take them right now. What's love got to do with that, says the judge. Well, that was jealousy from infidelity, okay? He just got angry. So that was in both directions, all right? Mr. Combs and this other person. And so the violence is from that. And so the judge is like, okay, so there is violence, is what you're saying? So that's great. So what's your point? You just admitted there's violence. And so you say that they invited a third person in. Now, if that person is a commercial sex worker and they traveled across state lines, isn't that a problem? Well, I've spoken with the agency, Your Honor, and they say that they're not even paid for sex. They're not paid for sex, they're escorts. But if they feel like having sex, then they do it. So it's not even actual prostitution. It's not even commercial sex trafficking. It's just like you're going to hang out with somebody. And if you want to bang for however much money they're paying you to hang with them, that's fine. Now, Agnifilo, the defense attorney, so they're free to do that. It's not illegal. And the former governor of New York, he did it. Yeah, Elliot Spitzer. Yeah, what happened to him? That's right, he was. And he was not prosecuted. And so they're prosecuting Mr. Combs for it. He wants to freak off with people who come. Every politician in D.C. is doing it. So let's get back to that video, says the judge, and that physical beating, because the judge is like, yeah, you're right. Shoot, you're right. Everybody else is trafficking in commercial sex work. Got it. So what are we going to do about this? All right, let's talk about the vase again. So why isn't that relevant to dangerousness? He says, well, it's not sex trafficking, right? It's not, that's assault. That's domestic violence. It's not sex trafficking. So call that what it is. Charge him with assault. Charge him with domestic violence. charge him with criminal damage, with disorderly conduct. Okay, those are misdemeanors, maybe significant damage. You bump that up to a felony because it hit her in the head or whatever. But it's not sex trafficking. And there's domestic violence that happens all over this country every day. People get cracked over their head every day. And they get out on bail. They get out on custody. And it's not sex trafficking, right? And that victim in particular in that video doesn't sound like she was trafficked at all. Now, even if you don't trust him, Your Honor, trust the bond package, okay? $50 million bond, no internet, Sage security. That's going to give the court comfort that he's not a flight risk and he can prepare for his trial. Now, we had known this was coming. If we wanted to run, we could have run. We would have left in March, but we didn't. And Your Honor, I want to tell you about his background, okay? He was an actual altar boy, like literally on an altar. The judge says, altar boy, how far back are you going? Like, is this like, what grade is this? Your Honor, I'll just tell you this. He watches a sermon every day, okay? He has done a great deal to earn this court's trust. I ask you to release him, so please do it. Thank you. The judge says, okay. All right, well, I've heard from the parties, and I find that the government prosecutors have proven that Diddy is a danger and that the bail package is insufficient on the risk of flight. So Diddy's sitting there saying, dang it, I'm going back in. Not getting released. So the judge says, all right, so let's do the initial conference here. All right, where are we at with discovery? What's the status of discovery and evidence being exchanged from both sides? Government says, Your Honor, our discovery package is going to include photographs of physical evidence from the March searches and from this week. We're going to include the freak-off supplies. There are a large number of electronic devices. We have a full 35 extractions ready to produce to the defense. We'd request a status conference in approximately 90 days. Defense says, Your Honor, well, given that he'll be in custody, I can't for now consent to any exclusion under the Speedy Trial Act. So if they want 90 days, like that counts against them. We're not waiving any time. We want a speedy trial right now. He says, well, I can set a trial date if you want to do that. If you're not going to waive time, I'll set a trial date. That's fine. If I can't try it, I can find a colleague who can. We'll set your trial right away. So he reaches out over to the government. He says, okay, well, how much time do you actually need? Whispers over to the 4 U.S. attorneys. I think they're all female over there. The Spice Girl prosecutors. Meanwhile, Garagos whispers over to Sean Combs, Diddy. They talk about 14 to 20 days. Okay, well, how about 2 weeks? Well, what's your position on speedy trial then? Well, I'm not prepared to waive that. So it's not 90 days, but we'll do it in 14 to 20 days. Okay, are you going to waive the time on that? No, I'm not prepared to waive it. Okay, well, how about the date? So let's pick a date first. Okay, what date do you want? How about October 9th at 2 p.m.? Does that work for the parties? Yes, it does. Great. Government, what is your motion? Prosecutor says, Your Honor, we move to exclude time under the Speedy Trial Act. Defense, what's your position? I can't consent, Your Honor, but I'll know more on October 9th. Fine. I exclude the time then based on, he doesn't give us any specifics on it, based on the circumstances of the trial and in the interest of justice is the language we hear. So I'll exclude the time and the case carries on. Now, the judge gives us an update. He says, we received some calls today from people who say they have evidence for this case. That's interesting. We referred them over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. What about the local rule? Well, we wanted to flag. Okay, so judge says people are calling us. I'm just giving it to the government. Now, what about the local rule? Remember that the prosecutor was upset with the defense bringing up the fact that apparently this woman is threatening or was blackmailing or attempting to blackmail Diddy for $30 million or whatever it is. What about local rule? Government says, well, we wanted to flag the comments about the victim. We're not requesting action now, but we just want you to tell them, remember the rule. Defense says, Your Honor, it would be better if we put Diddy in Essex County, the correctional facility, rather than in MDC. Government says, well, Your Honor, that authority is given to the Bureau of Prisons. So I don't think there's anything this court can do to put its thumb on the scale. So you don't get to make like a notification, send him to Essex or send him to something. Prosecutors like, he's going to MDC. Anything else? Nothing. Okay. Get me a joint letter on all this by Monday, September 23rd. We are adjourned. And so that is the latest update on the Diddy case. He's staying in custody. As a reminder, this always comes from Inner City Press. Matthew Russell Lee reporting. We're going to repost this puppy at the top of our timeline. So if you're following along at home, you can give him a follow, support his work. We're so glad that he's always there inside the courtroom bringing us these details. But Diddy is not going anywhere. And the docket, as you can see, looks like this. Nothing updated from when we started this video other than the Brady order, and that looks like this. So basically, this is a standard order that came down from the lower level judge yesterday. If the government has any exculpatory materials, they got to give it to Diddy, but otherwise, he's staying in custody for the rest of this trial. He'll probably file some renewed motions later down the line. We saw the same pattern with Ghislaine Maxwell. She tried multiple times to get out of custody. He'll do the same, and we'll be here to cover it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends, as this coverage continues. So great to have you here for our lives. We'd love it if you knew somebody who might be interested in this live, if you shared it with them. That way, we can have them join us on the next one. And so, we're not done yet. We've got another update on what's happening in Politicsville. But C-SPAN, let's see, Trump is supposed to be speaking like right now. And I wanted to see if they had that live for us. Let me see if he's live right now. I think he was supposed to be speaking like any minute. And does Right Side have that? Let's see. Is Trump in the house? Not yet. All right, so it's a full crowd over there. Here's what it looks like. Trump is in New York. And so we'll keep our eye on it and see if he makes an appearance as we're here. He's supposed to talk. Sometimes he's late. But that's happening right now. 7 p.m. Eastern, which I think is like now. So we'll keep our eye on it, my friends. But we've got some other big news out there. Kamala Harris and the Democrats suffer a major blow. That's what the Washington Post is telling us, because the Teamsters are not endorsing Kamala. Last time they did not endorse anybody was 1996. Some might say it is historic that they're not endorsing Kamala, and they're very upset about this. You can see MSNBC and CNN were seemingly a little bit shocked about this. Whoa, this is kind of a big deal, because Biden had a lot of support from these Teamsters, and now Kamala doesn't.
Kayla, this is something that hasn't happened in decades.
It hasn't happened since 1996, Brianna, and you mentioned that unions were a critical component of President Biden's winning coalition back in 2020, and Democrats had hoped that once again, especially after the policies put forth by the Biden-Harris administration, that it would be.
So not good for them. Now, what's interesting about this is when you go over to the Teamsters, their rank and file poll results, what they'll tell us is that they don't like Kamala. And the question is this a bigger pattern? Is this a trend that we're seeing throughout the rest of the country? But the International Brotherhood of Teamsters publicly released membership polling data on the union's possible endorsement. Now, they've not done that, but we do have some numbers. As you'll see here, when the race, this is such an interesting detail, when the race was Biden-Trump, the polls were 44 for Biden, 36 for Trump. Biden's up, Trump is second. But after the RNC and after Biden left, look at these numbers. 59.6% for Trump. Whoa! With only 34% for Harris. It got inverted bigly. That's not good for them. Now, in the past week, DNC, in a recent presidential debate, they commissioned independent polling, And so Trump is up 59.6, and they worked really hard to not round that up, like really hard. They're like scrambling to not make it 60, because if it's 60, that just feels like it's totally devastating. So they're unhappy about it. And you can see this is some analysis from MSNBC.
We just got some news, John. This is for you on the Teamsters. They will not be endorsing a U.S. president. Not doing it this year.
Yep.
What's your reaction?
Well, that looked to be where they were going. And here's the complexity. The Teamsters are very divided. They released polling this afternoon that showed a substantial portion of their members, a majority of their members in survey research, like Trump over Harris. They had some surveys from earlier that had folks liking Biden over Trump. So it's sort of a complex mixed picture. But at the heart of it is that there is a significant level of support within the Teamsters Union for Donald Trump. At the same time, there are sectors of that union, including locals around the country, one in North Florida, or one in South Florida, I apologize, another big unit in Michigan, that have indicated that they really want to back the Democrats in this race. And so in this divided circumstance, the Teamsters have chosen to stand down, right? And what you're now going to see is a very interesting
honestly.
competition around the country for Teamsters units, right? For these members of the union. It isn't like the Teamsters go out of play here. What happens is now there's going to be a lot of listening to what leaders of the union, local leaders and others have to say in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Georgia, because this is a very big union. It has a lot of diversity within it, and it's significant. One bottom line, though. This is a tough one for Harris, because the Teamsters did back Biden. They have tended in recent cycles to back Democrats, and she had made a final play just this week to try and get their endorsement. So she would have liked this very much. What she got is the second best option, which is they didn't endorse Trump, but they also didn't endorse anybody else.
Which is seemingly out of alignment with what their own people want, okay? Over half of the people, 59.6%. want Trump. Why are they not endorsing Trump? The numbers don't lie, but they just can't bring themselves to do it. And so even some people on CNN are saying that Kamala's getting a little bit tiresome. Every time we hear from her, someone says anything about the economy. She says, I grew up in a middle-class family. My mom, yeah, middle class. And we say, well, okay. We've heard that 5 times from you, Kamala. What else?
When you listen to Kamala Harris on what she will do, you can almost start a drinking game every time she says small businesses. Let me give you an
Yeah, maybe you should have asked her some harder questions when you played patty cake with her and her emotional support governor.
example.
Part of my plan under my economic opportunity plan going forward is that right now, startup entrepreneurs, small businesses only get a tax deduction of $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. So I'm expanding that to $50,000. Understanding, again, that when people have the opportunity to have the resources to get started, they're going to...
It's such a false argument. She's not giving anybody $5,000 or $50,000. It's a tax credit or a tax deduction or however she's going to do it. But you can't start anything with $5,000. They're not giving you 5. They're not giving you 50,000. So you still have to spend it, and then you get a savings on it. Like, it's also illiterate.
going to put the good ideas. They're going to put the hard work into it.
Describe the politics of that.
When she says that, she also talks about being a middle-class kid. That's also at the front of her answers. If you look at the interviews they've been doing with local media, and they've opened up a bit more since the debate, the first question is often, what are you going to do to lower prices? Which is a very hard question for an incumbent party to answer. And it has implications that are very Trumpian. It is, Trump says he's going to do mass deportation. That'll decrease demand. Trump says he'll explore more energy. That'll decrease energy costs. Democrats can point to the fact that inflation is actually, it was bad 2 years ago. It's not now. What people want to hear is, how do you make the prices go down? So everything she says is something realistic that could survive a fact check that answers a very hard question. there is not a plan to say that we're going to lower the cost of your grocery bill to what it was in 2019. There was a pandemic. There was a money supply inflation. You can't hit the button that makes that go away. But Trump has an answer that gets him through these questions. And Harris, I think, with a different set of incentives and a different relationship to something she can back up in a policy paper, she doesn't have an answer. So she goes to a larger, well, imagine a future where there are more businesses and this starts to ameliorate.
Yeah, nicely done. Nice answer from that gentleman. And he's exactly right. Kamala knows her scripts, can repeat the talking points, but says nothing and has been doing it for quite some time now. And so we're taking a look at what's happening at the rally. Looks like Trump has not come out yet, but it looks like it is a full house. No doubt about it. Even the upper rafters are filled up there. Look at that. And so let's listen and see what's cooking.
Of us. They say if we could just jail Trump.
Yeah, they do want to jail Trump. A lot of them are talking about that. Other people want Trump dead, in fact. You see that there was a new poll. 28% of Democrats think that America would be better off if Trump had been eliminated. It's nuts. And it's kind of a sick thing to even think about, but it's true. And you've seen the videos of some of these whack jobs out there, man on the street interviews saying, or making jokes about third time or whatever. In a shocking display of how nasty they are, many have said that it'd be better off if Trump had been killed. A new poll of 1,000 registered voters taken by veteran pollster Scott Rasmussen and their Napoleon News Institute revealed that 17% of voters say that it would have been better for America if Trump had been eliminated. And to be honest, at least they're consistent, okay? Like, you got to give them credit for that. It's insane. We were making fun of them for the inconsistency on this yesterday, how Kamala Harris comes out and says, worst attack on American democracy since the Civil War. Forgetting 9/11, forgetting Pearl Harbor, saying that J6 was worse than that, even though no one died other than Ashley Babbitt. And they want and they're glad that Trump is okay after the assassination attempts. Oh, thank the Lord he's okay. We're so glad. We need to condemn political violence. You just said he's worse than Osama bin Laden. Hello? And they raided him and shot him in the head or something. Whatever they did to that guy. So they actually believe this. Americans also had strong thoughts on what was driving the would-be assassin to act, 45%. Suggesting it was anti-Trump rhetoric, 41% suggesting it was just news media coverage, also talking about crazed individuals and more. We got a couple other updates on some of the other cases. So this is the Ryan Wesley Ruth case. And he has now had his detention hearing reset, just adjusted the time a little bit. No other updates since the 16th when we talked about this last, but he's got a change in his court date, which is going to change in the court time, 11 a.m. instead of, I think, 9 a.m. originally? 10 a.m. Yeah, it was 10 a.m. So they moved it 1 hour. That's the only real change. We also saw that Trump is appealing, or rather asking for an extension in responding to Jack Smith's appeal in the Florida case. So this is the classified documents case. Jack Smith is appealing this. It's on appeal from the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida. This case is already being long dismissed because Jack Smith is not a real prosecutor. He's fake. He was not ever appointed by the president or confirmed by the Senate. And we know that Merrick Garland and Joe Biden know how to do that, because David Weiss was both of those things. Robert Hur was both of those things. But Jack is saying, I am a real boy. Judge Cannon's being mean to me. And so the defendants now here, the appellees, which are going to be Trump, they are asking for more time to respond to the opening brief. So Jack submitted his appeal. Trump is saying, can we just get a little bit more time here? Okay, we've got like multiple lawfare prosecutions going on against us, and so we're just going to need a little bit more response time. They say, pursuant to all of this, we're asking for a 30-day extension of time to submit our opening brief. They say, we have this already, the current schedule set forth by the 11th Circuit, is in place. We're asking for 30 days. It's our first request for this, and we're following the rules on when we need to request this by. Good cause exists for this, and here's why. We're presently engaged in motion practice in many separate cases, in a separate case, specifically in the District of Columbia. That's Judge Chutkan's case. That's going to require counsel to spend time in a SCIF in D.C., and so we can't comply with your schedule. Like, we're going to be locked down. We're going to be in a SCIF. And so Trump and his counsel are also litigating issues of first impression. We're in the Second Circuit, which is in New York. That's the Bragg case, people of the state of New York versus Bragg. We've also got appellate lawyers working on that. And so this lawyer also has to get up to speed. And so we've just got a lot of stuff. We have a very busy schedule. Now, counsel conferred with Jack Smith's office, who I don't even know why they talked to them. They should have been thrown out of their offices, who have requested that we include the following statement in this. So here's what Jack Smith, who's not even a real boy, is responding. He's saying, in light of the procedure described and without expressing a view on whether there is good cause, the government does not oppose this request. Okay, thanks, Jack. Now, they say, so therefore, since Jack doesn't oppose this, Your Honor, we need 30 days because we're being prosecuted everywhere. Can you please give us 30 more days? Sincerely, your friends, Todd Blanche, Christopher Keese, on behalf of President Trump. And so this appeal is working its way through. Jack Smith still really wants to play this game there in Florida. Chutkan is enabling him, allowing him to carry on with his fake prosecution. But we'll see what happens in the 11th Circuit. And so let's turn our attention back over to the rally. And let's say hello to you, my friends. Let's see what you say about all of this. We'll see if Trump makes his way out. They're waiting for something. Cameraman's zooming in. We're waiting for Trump to take the stage. Let's see who is here and joining us on the beautiful day. What's up, Rich New? Hey, we got some new membos coming in. Rich New is bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Rich. Welcome aboard. Hey, there's the president. He's walking out. Mr. President, good to see you, sir. So we got, what's up? We got Rich New is bringing in new membos. We got Sheila Poo is in the house, bringing in 10 more membos. Thank you, Sheila, for doing that. We've got Ollie is in the house. What's up, Ollie? 5 more membos from Ollie. Man, it's good to see you, Ollie. Thanks for bringing in 5 new membos. So new membo friends, check out this morning's stream. Welcome aboard. And we'll see you tomorrow on the members only stream in the morning as well. What's up? Real with Robo is in the house. Says, y'all make a bad day into an awesome day. Y'all make a bad day into an awesome day. Great to see you, Real with Robo. I feel the same. 7 months as a membo, 2 months more, and then we get a full baby in the house. Thank you, Real with Robo. What's up? We got Brian Bishop. Says, prosecutors, give us Trump and you'll get bail. Give us Trump and you'll get bail. And that's pretty much exactly how it worked. They tried to do that with the Proud Boys too. Hey, what's up, Zach Richardson? Thanks, Zach. Says, hey, you make me laugh. I appreciate the work you do. Thanks for hosting this channel. Thank you, Zach. Thanks for being a part of it, man. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks for supporting us. Glad you have some fun. We have some fun too. These cases are wild. Yeah, especially these freak off cases. It's just getting wild around here. Thanks, Zach, for the nice dono. All right, so Trump is out and about, my friends. Let's tune in and listen in and see what he says. As soon as he takes that podium, you can see the crowd's going wild. And he's about to make his way up there. What's up? Fred Pedamonte says, the hotel woman is Cassie Ventura, his future wife. Is that who that was? I don't know who that was. Oh, the woman running away? You've identified her? People know who she is, right? Didn't she sue him? So very interesting. Thank you, Fred, for that one. Sheila Poo, 5 new membos. Welcome aboard, new membo friends. And thank you, Sheila, for bringing them in. So many new friends coming in. We'll see them in the morning. Thank you, Sheila, for doing that. Hey, new membos. Sheila is saying, hit that like button, friends. Says, and share the channel. Great reminder. Okay, here's the president. Thank you, Sheila, for saying that. Here's President Trump. Listen to this crowd, man. It's loud. Trump's in New York. Woo!
Wow. This is a big crowd.
Heck yeah.
This is a big crowd.
Heck yeah, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody, and a very big hello to New York and a place called Long Island, which I know very well. And I'm thrilled to be back in the state I love with thousands of proud, patriotic New Yorkers who are really the heart and soul of America. We know that. And the reason I'm here is because it hasn't been done in many decades. It hasn't been done for a long time, but we are going to win New York.
Let's go, New York. Come on. We can do it.
And that's the first time in many, many years that a Republican can honestly say it, and we're going to do it. We have to do it.
We have to.
do it, and the election nationwide is over. We take over the White House, and we fix up our country, okay? We fix up our country.
We have to do it.
So as you know, 3 days ago, there was yet another assassination attempt on my life. I didn't know I was going to say that. It was the second one in 8 weeks by a violent radical left mobster. This evil would-be assassin got within a few hundred yards of where I stood, but thankfully, our outstanding Secret Service agent, and they are outstanding.
Heck. They did a good job on that one.
Spotted the barrel of his rifle in the bushes. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? He saw a barrel of a big, this was a big barrel. This you don't want to even talk about, AK-47. But he saw the barrel coming out a little bit out of the very lush bushes, and he took fast action to stop the gunman before I even entered the line of sight. And I want to express my thanks to the U.S. Secret Service, who was there that day, and to all of the sheriffs and law enforcement down in Florida, the heroes who helped to apprehend the attacker. And by the way, you possibly heard the story. So the secret agent, service agent, pulled out the gun and started shooting. He said, a barrel. He didn't talk like a lot of people. They talk. How are you, sir? What would you like to talk about? Would you like to talk about the weather? No, he pulled out the gun and he started shooting at him. And the villain...
Which they didn't do in Butler.
No, but think of this. This could only happen with a woman because men aren't smart enough. I hate to tell you, fellas. So he dropped his gun. His car was a block away, and he started running because they had him. And he was running. And a woman driving a car innocently said, he looks like a bad person to me. He looks very suspicious. And she followed him and pulled up to the back of the car and started taking pictures of his license plate. Can you believe that?
We have the best women. We love our women.
His license plate, perfect, beautiful pictures like a professional photographer, and sent them to the sheriff and said, I just looked at a man. There was something strange going on. Who the hell would do that? Right? Only a woman. Only a woman.
Oh, Rachel Maddow's going to be so mad. She's like, I would never do that.
If you had 1,000 events, how many people would have done that? Man or woman, how many people would have done that? Followed him, taken pictures of the license plate and also the type of truck that he was driving. He said, maybe none. So she's a hero. I got to meet her. And because of that, they were then able to catch him in a very speedy drive down the various highways in Florida, but they got him, and they got him fast. But I think it's incredible. So the agent and that wonderful woman. And with all of my heart, I thank you all for your incredible valor. What you've done is incredible. What the people of our country and law enforcement does in this country is incredible. Tonight, let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris. Have you heard of her?
Boo! She's terrible.
Who, by the way, was just rated by far the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate, more so even further left than Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas.
Yes, it's
Pocahontas.
true.
She's more so. Elizabeth Warren, she's more left than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there.
Boo! Look at them. The worst. We're switching feeds over here. This is Trump's main feed.
We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears, stop the lawfare and the fake lawsuits against me, and stop claiming your opponents will turn America into a dictatorship. Give me a break.
Ridiculous, Mr. President.
Because the fact is that I'm not a threat to democracy. They are.
It's true. Yeah, they're raiding you. You didn't raid them.
They're doing things in politics that have never been done before in the history of our country. And worst of all, with their open borders and bad elections, they have made us into a third world nation, something which nobody thought was even possible. Americans deserve a campaign based on the issues. We try and keep it on the issues. And God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you.
Thank you, God.
Not once, but twice. And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again. And maybe. And we're going to bring back religion into our country. Bring it back. These encounters with death have not broken my will. They have really given me a much bigger and stronger mission. They've only hardened my resolve to use my time on earth to make America great again, for all Americans to put America first.
Yeah.
America first. Earlier today, I was honored to receive the endorsement of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. I love the Teamsters. They delivered all that concrete for those buildings I built in New York. They delivered the big, heavy, most beautiful trucks you've ever seen. They delivered the concrete in all those buildings I built in New York. But, you know, this hasn't happened in so many decades. We won the overwhelming majority of the local chapters and the members, and as a result, the national organization has refused to endorse the Democrat candidate for the first time in many, many decades.
They don't like Kamala. No one likes her.
I also want
She's
to thank Teamsters
incompetent.
President Sean O'Brien, amazing man, and all of the incredible rank and file Teamsters across the country, because this was a surprise. It's automatic. They endorse the Democrats. Automatic for many, many decades. But you know what? They said, they looked at her, they said, we're not going there. I'm sorry. These are tough people. And together we will secure our borders. We will protect our workers. We will defend our jobs. We will rebuild our country with American skill and American pride and American labor. Right? And just as a little side note, we should give them a round, especially because of what they and how they voted today. If they voted the other way, I wouldn't give them a round. But the Teamsters built out this beautiful stadium for tonight's event. Thank you, Teamsters. Thank you. They did a great job. To every hardworking American, whether you live in a red state, a swing state, or a state with a failed Democrat rule, this year we need to elect all Republicans up and down the ballot. We have to clean out and straighten out our country. With your vote, we are going to rescue our country. We are going to rescue our Democrat-run states. We are going to start by saving the great state of New York. Is that good?
Let's go, New York!
When I told some people in Washington, yeah, I'm going up to New York, we're doing a campaign speech, they said, what do you mean New York? You can't ever, nobody can win, Republicans can't win. I said, I can win New York and we can win New York. We're going to win New York. And if you vote for me, I'm going to reduce your taxes, reduce your crime, and reduce your levels of stress, because you have a lot of stress. The only thing that I will increase are your incomes, and your love for your state will come roaring back again. Throughout American history, from generation to generation, New York has always set the standard for American life, and they have. It's been a high standard, too. Our cities were the center of business, arts, culture, our streets, ports, waterways, and they were the arteries of American commerce. They were absolute arteries. And our towns like Uniondale, Levittown, Hicksville, Huntington, these were great, great towns where you grew up and you loved and you stayed. But look at what has happened to New York and the other states, all run by radical left Democrats, every single one of them. Our heavy industries have exported overseas, and our middle class has been eviscerated, right here at home, been eviscerated. Housing costs are out of control. Inflation has cost a typical family $28,000. Think of it, in less than 4 years, $28,000. And we filthy encampments. We have horrible, disgusting, dangerous, filthy encampments of junkies and homeless people living in places that our children used to play Little League baseball, which they don't get to play very much anymore, do they? Over the past 3 years in New York City, there has been a 29% increase in robbery, a 36% increase in felony assault, a 42% increase in grand larceny.
And they're saying it's not happening.
A 75% increase in carjackings. Did you buy a nice car lately? Well, 200 police officers leave the NYPD, New York's finest. I always say, I knew it well. New York's finest. They leave every single month, 200 people a month. Incredible people. They're incredible people. The trains and subways are squalid and unsafe. The median of our highway, all those medians, they spend all that money, they're falling down, they're rotting. Businesses are fleeing. The mobs of illegal migrants are being put up in luxury hotels at your expense, while our great veterans live on the freezing or steaming sidewalks right outside the main entrance to where the migrants enter their hotel. Think of that. Think of it. We have veterans lying on the street, squalid, lying on the street, sometimes freezing, sometimes it's hot, it's summer. And they're looking at people just came into our country, and they're going up to the 17th floor of their suite. How crazy has our country become? And can you imagine what those veterans when they watch this, must be saying, but listen to this. Can you also imagine what the migrants must be thinking? They're saying, can you believe this? We just came from a place.
Jackpot.
In many cases, they were in
Heck
prisons.
yeah.
And now they're living in hotel suites while our veterans are living on the street. And so I say to the people of New York, with crime at record levels, with terrorists and criminals pouring in, and with inflation eating your hearts out, vote for Donald Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
That's right. Let's go. You're right about that, James.
What do you have to lose? Think of it. What the hell do you have to lose? You know, some of you remember that was a phrase that I used for our black population years ago in 2016. I said, with the worst housing conditions, the worst education, the worst this, the worst that, the most crime. I went through 12 different things, and it wasn't in the sheets. And I'm saying, boy, that's really terrible. And I said, and I was at like 2%, not too good. And I said to the black population gathered in front of me, vote for Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? I said that, same thing. And you know what happened? I got eviscerated when I went backstage. But I'm not like Biden where he takes, I fight back with my people. Remember, we still signed the check. They said, sir, that's a terrible thing to have said. I said, when you said, what the hell do you have to lose? It's terrible, it's demeaning, it's horrible. I said, but it's true. You know what happened? The next day, I picked up 10 points with the black population.
Happens every time. Oh, that's the end of Trump. We got him this time.
Because of all we've done, we're at the highest level of black support in the history of the Republican Party. And by the way, the Hispanic support, do we have any Hispanics? The Hispanic support is off the charts, and they don't know what the hell to do about it. It's off the charts. And we just had some great polling come out. I think the most accurate poll over the last 8 or 9 years was Rasmussen. They just came out with a poll that we're 5 up. We're 5 up. 5 up. We should be 35 up, to be honest with you.
Should.
You know, some people can't break an old habit. That's really what it is. So I say to you, vote for Trump, and I will turn it around very quickly with 4 more years of Kamala Harris. New York State will be like a third world nation.
Disaster.
If it
Country's going to be a
already.
disaster.
It is. I think it is. With Trump, the Empire State will once again be the envy of the entire world. We will have no crime, only success. And unlike your current radical Democrat regime, I'm not driven by partisan ideology. I'm driven by results, and I'm driven by New York common sense. It's common sense, right? Right? It's common sense. You know, I like to say the party, this is a great party. I like to say the party is really, you know, we're conservative and all that, right?
Thanks, Henry.
You know what we are? We're really people with common sense. We need walls. We need good elections. We want low taxes. We want great police officers that are well taken care of. We don't want to defund the police. We're the party of common sense more than anything else, and it's picked up a lot of steam. It's true. My first week back in the Oval Office, I will clean up and call up your governor and mayors, all across your state, and I will tell them it's time to work together. They're largely Democrats. It's time to work together for the good of the people. Going to do it. And despite all of the persecution I've endured from the corrupt judicial system in New York, it's a corrupt system.
Big time.
I love the
Alvin
people
Bragg,
of this state.
Tish James.
I want to give back. I want to give back to you. I've had a great life. I want to give back to you. We're going to give it back to you. We're going to make this city and we're going to make this state incredible again. Together, we will rebuild our roads, bridges, highways, and airports. They're falling apart. They're falling down. We will renovate New York subway. Oh, that's beautiful. I used to go to school on the subway. Can you believe it? I mean, I like to say it's not so long ago, but it probably is. What do you think, Bruce? I guess it is. But my parents would drop me off at a subway, and I'd go to Union Turnpike, or I'd go to wherever I... They had no fear that I was going to be disappearing. They would take me to a subway, put me on and say, bye, darling, bye. If you do that today, you have about a 75% chance that you'll never see your child again. What the hell has happened here?
Democrats.
What has happened?
Everywhere.
We will renovate the New York subway so that the greatest city in the world finally has, again, the greatest transit system anywhere in the world. You have the basics. We have to clean it. We have to take care of it. We have to give it a little love. And we have to get the criminals the hell out of there.
That's true, too.
We will once again support our incredible police officers, New York's finest. A lot of them. You know, I've got the support. To me, this is so important. I think to you, it's every single police group in the nation is supporting me. The other day, the Fraternal Order, it's the largest. They gave us 400,000 police, and they gave us a unanimous endorsement.
The FOP did?
Everybody.
That's good.
Have it from everybody. We will work with the mayors and the governor to rebuild your defunded and depleted police forces, including New York's finest and NYPD. Look, I know so much about, I love New York's finest. I used to be in Brooklyn. I had an office with my father in Brooklyn. And we used to go in Brooklyn to a White Castle. Did anyone ever hear of a White Castle? And my father would say, no, that's the best place. Only 12 cents a hamburger. Remember? 12 cents. Bruce, we had, Bruce, how good is Bruce? Bruce Blakeman, one of the greats. He won in an upset. You know, this is a Republican. He ran a couple of times. You couldn't beat this hoax of Democrats. He ended up winning. He's done such a good job. He's now unbeatable. They don't even run anybody against him. Great. Great. Really great. We got a lot of them. Joe Cairo's here. Joe, are we going to win, Joe? What do you think? Joe Cairo. Don't mess with Joe, right, Joe? We love you, man. Your family's great, too. But I will stop the Kamala crime wave, and we will do everything we can. We're going to get these violent criminals behind bars. We're going to get them out of our country. We're going to take them back to the country from which they came. A few months ago, I visited with the grieving family of a New York City police officer, Jonathan Diller. You know Jonathan Diller? I was hoping his family could be with us. He was just 31 years old, gunned down during a traffic stop by a vicious thug, leaving behind his incredible wife, Stephanie, and family, their one-year-old son. What a son. And it's, are you here? Are they here? They could be here. Is Stephanie here? Because, you know, it was a bond, and she was so great, and I think she's here. It's hard when you have 19,000 people. And Stephanie, unlike a lot of my friends, doesn't want adulation. Honestly, what she wants more than she wants her husband back. That's what she wants. She doesn't want adulation. I have other friends. You'd find them. I have other friends. If you said their name, they'd be jumping up. Here I am. Here I am. Stephanie doesn't want that. What a great family. What a great family, and what a great guy he was. The criminal charge was savagely murdering Officer Diller, was previously arrested by the NYPD 21 times, right? 21 times, Bruce. And the accomplice driving the car had been arrested 14 times, but he was actually much worse. He was more vicious. 14 times, but he was actually far more vicious. This is the kind of story we hear every single day under radical Democrat policies like cashless bail, cashless bail. You kill somebody, and you're out on the streets in 2 hours.
Like Kamala wanted when they burned down Minneapolis. Yeah, remember that?
Country. Kamala Harris wanted it no matter where she went. She boasted about being the leader of the movement of cashless bail, just like she led the effort to defund the police. You know, she was the leader of the effort to defund the police, and now she's running for president. But a little while ago, like everything else, no fracking, no this, no, she changed her mind. Now she says she likes the police.
That too.
She can't say love, but she says like. She's made a lot of progress, but you know the first thing that would happen is she will go to defunding the police, if that's even possible to think about. But when I get back into the Oval Office, the madness ends and the law and order is going to return to our country. A fully reformed Federal Department of Justice will deliver massive public safety funding for New York and other Democrat-run cities that are under siege. But in exchange, they will give our police back their protection and their respect. We are going to take care of our police, and we're going to respect our police. Everyone here does. I tell the officers all the time, you have no idea how the people love you, but sometimes they don't feel it because of what the Democrats do to them. They will end deadly sanctuary city policies, they will terminate cashless bail, and they will return to proven policing methods like we had under Mayor Rudy Giuliani that made New York City the safest big city in America. Simultaneously, we are going to make life in New York State affordable again. Little word, affordable.
That'd be nice.
A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for 4 more years of job losses. Look at what's happening. Businesses that are fleeing, money draining out of your state, and hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants sucking your public resources dry. You know, I've always heard for 20 years, I've heard that New York City has no money, and yet they're going to spend $3 billion on illegal migrants, and they're not getting it from the federal government. You wonder, they never had money, but they have $3 billion to take care of people that came into our country illegally. Doesn't make sense.
Uncivil law in the House. What's up, Uncivil?
But under the Trump economic plan, we will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. Half! Because we have more liquid gold under our feet and we don't use it. We go to places like Venezuela when we have more than Russia. We have more than Saudi Arabia. You remember I got Anwar approved in Alaska. It's the biggest site anywhere in the world, probably bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And what did they do? In the first week in office, Ronald Reagan tried so hard he couldn't get it. I got it. The biggest site in the world, Alaska. And in the first week in office, they terminated it. We'll have it back very quickly, I promise you that. We will rapidly defeat inflation. We're going to bring your prices down. All they're doing is they've cut it, but you're up 55 or 60%. People that used to live a nice life 4 years ago, they can't afford an apple. A woman, they showed a picture of a woman the other day. I said, boy, that's sad. That should never happen to her. She went to the counter, the cashier. She had 3 apples. And when she was standing with the cashier, she realized she didn't have enough money for one of the apples, and she took the apple, brought it back, and she bought 2 apples. That shouldn't be happening in our country.
No.
That shouldn't be happening in our country. We will cut interest rates, cut insurance costs, and insurance is horrible. And massively, we will cut your taxes again. I gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country. And we have some to go. Kamala Harris, as you look at her plan, will give you, very simply, the largest tax hike in American history. She's going to lift your taxes. This is the only person I've ever seen, and Biden too. They announced that they're going to raise your taxes, and it's supposed to be good politically. I don't think so. I don't know. I've never seen that, Anthony, before.
Well, they talk a lot about cutting it. They're going to give everyone tax breaks and tax credits and incentives. And
can you believe it? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, because the news will say, vote for me, I'm going to raise it. They're going to say, they're going to attribute it to me. I can't do that. I told our great First Lady I will not be sarcastic anymore. When you joke or when you're sarcastic, the fake news will take a story like that. I'll say, I never said I was going to raise your taxes. Yes. Vote for me, I'll raise your taxes. Kiddingly, kiddingly, kiddingly.
Yeah, they're doing it like dictator on day one, bloodbath, all of it.
When I imitated Joe Biden because he couldn't get off a stage. So I'd imitate him because he couldn't find the stairs and look around. He finished the speech, the speech would last maybe 3 minutes, maybe a little less than that. And then you want to get off the stage, and it always go like this. But you remember, that we're not running against him. We're running against somebody who's actually much worse. Ready? And he'd go like this. And then he'd walk in a different direction. It was the weirdest thing. And Secret Service did a great job. They'd come up in the stage, and they'd pull him out. Like today, we have 4 or 5 stairs. You always have 4, 5, 6 stairs. The more it's government-owned, the more stairs you have. But you always have a lot. So I said to our great First Lady, who can draw a crowd? Did you watch me tonight on television, First Lady? People love our First Lady out there.
Shout out to Melania. Melania's been on fire lately. If you're not following her, she's got some very nice critiques on
get a book. She just
the
wrote
FBI.
A book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great.
Definitely.
And if she says bad things about me, I'll call you all up and I'll say, don't buy it, get rid of it.
In the book.
No, but she said to me, I said, baby, did you see the crowd? We had 18,000 people. We could have filled it up 3 or 4 times. Bruce Blakeman said to me, if we went to a stadium or a park, we would have had 100,000 people or more.
Yeah, Arizona was crazy. They could have filled. I went there.
So I'd
I couldn't
call up
get in.
my wife, and I'd say, baby, who could draw crowds? Nobody can draw crowds like me. Nobody, not even close. I'm the greatest of all time, maybe greater even than Elvis, because Elvis had a guitar. I don't have a guitar. Elvis had a guitar. I don't have the privilege of a guitar. But I'd say, baby, who could do it like me? Nobody can do it like me. How great am I? And she'd say, and she'd say, I'd say, how great was the speech? Not how good, how great was it? And she'd say, it was good, but your hair looked terrible tonight. Or the worst ever. So I said, how good was it, First Lady? And she said, it was good, but you couldn't find your way off the stage. I was imitating Biden, and they said I did it.
That's
I couldn't
funny.
find my way off the stage. No, so you can't be sarcastic. Sarcasm with the media doesn't work, okay? It doesn't.
Melania's digging at him. I love it.
I've given up about 90% of it. I got all my friends here. Anthony, stand up. Anthony.
What's up? Shout out to Anthony.
One of the greats of all time. He said, I have a big business problem. What? I have too much cash. I don't know what to do with it. I said, I've heard of I've heard of worse problems than that, Anthony, right? He's doing good. He's a great man, great businessman, and a great person. Kamala wants income tax hikes, small business tax hikes, capital gains tax hike. How about the capital gains?
Unrealized.
She wants a tax. Unrealized
Yes.
capital gain. That means she
Insane.
wants to give you a capital gain. Even if you have stock, she wants to give you a capital gain even if you didn't sell it. You know,
Right.
I know a lot of people, they're very rich, but they don't have cash. They're rich, but they don't
Yeah.
have cash.
It's tied up in your house or
like
something.
That. Farmers are like that. They have great land, great everything. They make income, but they don't have cash. And you know what I did for farmers and small business in the tax hike? And nobody talks about this. I got rid of the estate tax, so that, or the death tax as they would call it, so that when you die and you pass it on to your children who you love, if you don't love your children, then it's not going to do you any good. And there are those. Does anybody in this incredible arena, they did a nice job, by the way, fixing it. I remember the old one. Does anybody in this incredible arena not love their children? Who in the arena is rich and will not leave their money to their kids? Because if that's the case, then what they did for you doesn't mean anything. Do I have any hands? 20,000 people and I have no hands. Okay, who wants to leave their money to their kids?
Yeah, obviously, baby. Love you, Mom. Love you, Mama.
You know, in the old days, you'd leave the money to the kids, and what would happen? The kids would have to go out and borrow money. They'd lose everything. They had to borrow money from a bank at a high rate of interest. Now they don't have to do that anymore. Now you can leave your farm, you can leave your small business to your kids, but Kamala wants to end that. She wants to end it. She wants to raise your tax to a level that nobody's ever heard of before, and it's crazy. We will go in to a I thought this was a wise guy coming up. This guy, I thought, I'm getting ready. I'm going like this. You know, I got a little bit of a yip problem here, right? That was amazing. I was all ready to start duking it out. I felt like my man in the front row here. Stand up, will you please? This is the toughest man. Do you know him? Do you all know? I'm going to introduce you later so you can sit. He's the toughest guy. If somebody walked on the stage, he wouldn't be afraid. He would already be attacking the poor guy. Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? It's the first time that's ever happened, I think. Is he new to the game? I think so. By contrast, I will cut taxes for families, small businesses, and workers, including restoring the SALT deduction, saving thousands of dollars for residents of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and other high-cost states.
So they can save some on their taxes?
SALT. Jobs and factories will pour back into New York. I know how to do it better than anybody's ever known how to do it, and we can do it so easily. Wages will soar, the cost of living will fall, and I will deliver the greatest economy in the history of the world to our country, and one of the greatest economies in the history of New York State.
Let's go!
And a key part of restoring safety and saving our economy is stopping the invasion at the border of our country.
Many people going to New York. You know, New York is one of the biggest cities, if not New York City, if not the biggest city for illegal immigration in the whole country. You think it'd be on a border state.
At this situation until the coup,
but it's not.
I say until the coup because it was a coup. But she was a border czar. Now she said I was never the border czar. You know what? Give her that. But she was in charge of the border, and the border is the worst-run border in the history of the world. There's never been a border
It's true.
like this.
But the media did call her a
21
border
million
czar.
people, illegal aliens are coming in from all over the world, from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. Many tourists are coming in just to watch. Did you ever see this? You have tourists that line up to take pictures of it. They usually turn out to be the fake news, and the pictures are so bad they never show it. You know, the fake news never, ever talks about it, but we have massive numbers of terrorists coming in to our country. You have everybody coming in. We have people that can't speak the language. The great Tom Homan told me the other day, great guy, central casting guy, great guy. He told me the other day, last month, They figured it out for the last 12 months. 168 different countries came in, represented, and came into our country. Most people don't even know you have that many countries. You actually have over 200, but most people don't know. But I want to be known as one thing. In 2016, I probably won because of the border. I did a great job. I cleaned it up, and the border was...
Yeah, the whole country was better. Yeah.
And in 2020, even though I got millions and millions more votes, they said, sir, if you get the same number of votes as you did in 2016, 63 million, sir, you cannot lose. I got millions more, and I lost.
They rigged it. CIA, Anthony Blinken.
But you know what? We're going to have the greatest win in history when we pull this one off.
You better believe that, baby.
It's going to be legendary. But in 2020, my people would say, sir, it doesn't help for you to speak about the border. Nobody cares. I said, I want to speak about the border. I did a great job. Sir, nobody cares. It's true. I talk about the border. Nobody cared. But now they care, because now the border is 25 times worse than it was in 2016. Now the border is not even believable what's happening. And I want to be known as your border president. I'm going to be known as your border president. And Kamala will be known as your invasion president. Just let them all come in. Let them all come in. Now, we got to save our country. Our country's going down. If you look at what's happening with the Venezuelans taking over, I mean, they're taking over large pieces of real estate in Colorado, and you have a Democrat governor who's petrified of them. He's afraid. I've never seen anything like it, and he doesn't want to talk about it. They've taken over your buildings and your land. You got to do something about it. That wouldn't happen with Bruce Blakeman, I can tell you right now. Bruce, would you let people come in from a foreign country like Venezuela, where, by the way, their crime rate is down 72% because they've taken their prisoners, they've taken their gangs, they've taken their drug dealers, and they've shipped them all to the United States, so their crime rate's down. But Bruce, would you ever tell the people that you're supposed to be protecting when they call? A lot of Venezuelans are in here and they have very big guns. Would you say, listen, I don't really want to do anything about it? Would you do that, or would you say, don't worry, we'll have a force of people over there within minutes and it would all be over, right? Right? I think so. No, he wouldn't play games. He wouldn't play games.
Awesome, Lauren.
But you know, these people, the law enforcement, they're afraid in these places because it's so violent. They've never seen people like this. These are violent people that they're allowing into our country. It is truly an invasion, and we're not going to let it happen. We're going to take those violent people and we're going to ship them back to their country. And if they come back in, they're going to pay a hell of a price. Thank you. We have no choice. We have no choice. It's not like, you know, this is not sustainable by any country. This is not sustainable.
It's not.
How about in Springfield, Ohio? They had 32,000. This is a little
Is he going to go there?
No crime, no problem. 32,000 illegal immigrants come into the town, 32. So they almost doubled their population in a period of a few weeks. Can you believe it? And you know what? They've got to get much tougher. I'm going to go there in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Springfield and I'm going to Aurora.
He's going there. I thought he was going to go there.
You may never see me again, but that's okay. Got to do what I got to do. Whatever happened to Trump? Well, he never got out of Springfield. I'm leading in Ohio by like 15 points, a lot. And we're going to take care of Ohio, and we're going to take care of Colorado, and we're going to take care of every single State in the Union. They're all under siege. A lot of people don't talk about. But think of this. So the mayor of Springfield, and I think he's a very nice person, but instead of saying we're getting them all out, we're getting them out, he says very simply, we're hiring teachers to teach them English. Can you believe it? We are hiring interpreters, so when they go to school and take the place of our children in school, we have an interpreter. Each one will have a private interpreter. What the hell is wrong with our
that's
country?
good. Maybe they'll get everything else they need too handed to them.
Our country. They came in illegally. They're destroying our country. We're getting them out. They're going to be brought back to the country from which they came. I will protect our country. I will protect our country. Think of it. She will surrender our country. That's what they're doing. They still refuse to acknowledge that these people have to be taken out. And you start with the stone cold killers, the murderers, the drug dealers. You get them out, and you tell them if they ever come back, big trouble. But let me tell you what you really do. Some of them are so bad you can't take the chance of sending them out because they'll come back. You lock them up, and they're going to be there for a long time. And when they know that, you'll see a whole big difference. As you know, here on Long Island, the open borders policies of Kamala Harris, and it were really her policies, and the communist left, I call it the communist left, have been importing MS-13 gang members by the thousands. I don't know what it is about Long Island, but you know, I took thousands and thousands of gang members out. Do you remember the story? Remember, I came into the presidency, and MS-13 was on my mind because I saw that in Long Island, two beautiful young girls were walking to school. They were 16 years old, and an MS-13 gang of deviants grabbed the girls and sliced them up into pieces. Not with guns. They didn't want guns. They killed the two girls. They sliced them into little pieces.
Sick.
And
all over the country.
I never forgot that. And then I found out that things like that are happening all over wherever they are. MS-13, the worst gang anywhere. The only thing good about that is they make our gangs look like very nice people, I want to tell you. These are the worst people. They're animals. And Nancy Pelosi said, you shouldn't call people animals. That's not appropriate. They're animals. That's the philosophy. And I said, I got to the White House, and I said, they have a lot in Ohio, a lot in every state. And I said, I want MS-13 out of here. They come from various places, a little bit south of Mexico. They come from Mexico, too. And I said, what I want you to do is I want to bring them out. And a general said, sir, I'm sorry, sir. The countries will not, under any circumstances, allow us to bring them back in. They don't want them anymore, sir. I said, how long has this been going on? Many years during the Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Unfortunately.
Many years, sir, under the Barack Hussein Obama administration. It's been going on for years, so they won't take them. You know what they do? They would take Honduras, okay? Think of it. They would take planes, and they would put them on the runways. They would put the planes, El Salvador, or different countries, some of the roughest gangs. They put big commercial aircraft. So when a plane is going to fly in with 200 or 300 MS-13 killers, you couldn't land the plane. They said, sir, we can't get them back. All of the bus routes are blocked. We can't get the buses in. And when they know a plane is coming, they put planes on the runway. Sir, we won't be able to do it. I said, I think you will. How much money do we pay them for? Economic development of the dictator's house. How much money do we pay them, General? I'll get back to you, sir. He comes back the next day. Sir, we pay them $750 million a year. It's a lot. Let me tell you, it's peanuts compared to some of the money that we pay, but it's a lot of money.
It's crazy. Foreign aid.
I said, inform these countries that under no circumstances are they getting any money anymore. They're not getting any money. They are delinquent. They're not allowing us to bring back people that they force into our country through caravans. So they informed them, and the next day I get to the Oval Office nice and early, and I get calls from 3 particular countries separately. Sir, there seems to be a problem or a misunderstanding. I said, yeah, there is a misunderstanding. You're not taking your MS-13 people that you sent into our country. You're not taking them back. And I'm going to not give any money to your country forever. You're never getting 10 cents. And in all cases, they said something to the effect, sir, it is so bad that I didn't know about this. I wish I would have known about it. We would love to take MS-13 back into our country. We love them very much. We will take them back, sir. And that day, that afternoon, we started bringing them out of our country by the thousands and thousands and thousands. And the worst part of the story is, now, I still didn't pay them. I figured. But now they're getting $4 billion a year under Biden. Biden said, do it. Maybe she knew about it. I don't want to blame her if she didn't, but $4 billion. You know why? Because he wants them to create a beautiful environment so that they say that that's not going to happen. Okay, the money's going to be stolen all over the place. So instead of $750, it's now at $4 billion. An estimated 75% of arrests in Midtown Manhattan and over 60% of arrests in Queens are now illegal aliens. Congratulations.
Wow, those numbers.
And you know this. In Queens a few months ago, an illegal alien released by Kamala Harris, she was in charge of the border, approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrists and raped them, injured them terribly, very badly. You know about it. In the Bronx, another illegal alien that Kamala Harris set loose into our country approached a 36-year-old woman while pretending to ask for directions. Ma'am, he said, I'd like directions to someplace. Before he wrapped his arms around her throat, pinned her down on a park bench, and raped her all night and beat the hell out of her. And you know what she said? She said, he didn't rape me, he tried to kill me. That was her expression when the police came. And on Coney Island, a place I know well, just weeks ago, two migrants, Kamala let in, raped a 46-year-old woman with a knife to her throat. She was badly, badly beaten, probably going to live. For every New Yorker being terrorized by this wave of migrant crime, and I've been talking about migrant crime for 5 years.
And the left has ignored it completely, called you a bigot if you bring it up.
They are vicious, violent criminals that are being let into our country. They're people that their countries who are very smart, they don't want them. That's why all over the world, a lot of people coming from jails out of the Congo in Africa. Where do you come from? The Congo. Where in the Congo? We come from jail. What did you do? We will not tell you. They're coming from the Congo. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from all over the world. Asia. A lot of it coming from Asia. And what's happening to our country is we're just destroying the fabric of life in our country.
Yeah.
And we're not going to take it any longer. And you got to get rid of these people. Give me a shot. You will have a safe New York within 3 months.
Let's go, New York. 3 months. Turn this baby around.
For every New Yorker being terrorized by this wave of migrant crime, November 5th will be your liberation day. It's going to be liberation because you are living like hell. You're living a life like hell. I will launch a special task force of elite federal law enforcement people, many of whom I already know, that are tough, and charge them with crushing the MS-13 remnants. You know, the problem is I got them out and now they come back in. They just walk back in like there's nothing to it. But eliminating MS-13 in every foreign gang and organized criminal network opening up on American soil. They're coming in by the millions, not by the hundreds. They're coming in by the millions. Think of it, probably 21 million people. That's probably a low number. We can do all of this and more, but patriotic New Yorkers must get your asses out to vote.
Yeah.
Gotta get up. Gotta get up.
Get your asses out there.
Harry, get up, Harry.
Get out there.
Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're going to vote for Trump today, Harry.
Get your fat
Get
asses
up, Harry.
up.
Come on, let's go.
Gosh.
Let's go, Harry.
Let's go. Enough. Get up.
We got to vote. Got to vote. And I believe we have the vote. You know, it's an interesting thing. Evangelical Christians, they tend not to vote very much. If they did, you'd never lose.
Evangelicals.
Gun owners, I have the total endorsement of the NRA, have had it from the beginning. Gun owners don't vote, meaning they don't vote in a proportion that they should. Very small numbers vote. It's probably rebellion, who knows what it is. The gun owners have to get out and vote.
Yes.
Evangelicals, Christians have to get out.
Yes,
and
evangelicals.
vote. People have to get out. There are some groups that don't vote like they should, and we're going to win.
Gun owners
We're pleased
too.
to be joined tonight by members of Congress that are really terrific, that are warriors, really warriors. And one of them in particular, I love what she did to that woman at Harvard. Oh, that was not pretty. Elise
Stefanik.
Where is Elise? Where is she?
Shout out to Elise.
Where is she?
What's up, Elise Stefanik?
She is so great. Where the hell is she? Thank you, Elise. Boy, she was great. Mark Molinaro. Great. Nick LaLota. Nick.
What's up, Nick? What's up, Mark?
Thank you, Nick. Great job. He's doing a good job. Here's another one doing a good job. I gave him a big endorsement, Anthony D'Esposito.
What's up,
He's doing a
Anthony?
great
What's
job.
up?
Thank you, Anthony. Salt. Salt, Anthony. Remember, fellas, salt. Brandon Williams, doing great. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much. Nick Langworthy, terrific guy. Claudia Tenney. Where's Claudia?
What's up, Claudia? What's
Where's
up, Nick?
Claudia? She's been amazing. Congressional candidates, Mike LePetri. Where's Mike? Thank you, Mike. Good. I heard you leading big. And Allison Esposito. She's a tough one. Allison, thank you. Thank you very much. It's tough, you know, when you have this many people. I'm looking around. Where's one person? Thank you very much, Allison. Beautiful. Senate candidate Mike Sapriacone. Mike Sapriacone. Come on, Mike. Where's Mike? You got to win, Mike. We got to win that one, Mike. You can do that. You can do that. A former senator and a friend of mine for a long time, and we had disputes every once in a while, but generally I would say it was a 10 relationship, and he was a tough cookie, Senator Al D'Amato. Right? Good man. A good man. A great lawyer and congressman, and he helped me a lot during impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. They were hoaxes. Congressman Lee Zeldin.
What's up, Lee Zeldin?
He's great. And he's a big part of our campaign, and I want to bring him to Washington with us. He's a great lawyer. Get ready. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, who's fantastic. A mayor who was a fantastic mayor, very shy kind of a guy. He took crime. It was terrible. It was at a level that was as bad as today. And he made New York the safest big city in the world. Rudy Giuliani.
It's Rudy. Hey, Bruce Rice. Thank you, Bruce. Bruce is bringing in 20 membos. Bruce Rice, baby. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, Bruce. Welcome,
Rudy,
new friends.
Isn't that great? And his son, who happens to be a great golfer. A lot of people say, oh, how's Andrew? Not that good. Let me tell you, he's seriously good. Andrew Giuliani. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Did a good job.
It's a good question.
And
I don't know.
very beautiful little boy who went through hell, but I brought him some presents. That's why I was late for you today. I brought him presents. I said, Liam, do you think the crowd of 20,000 plus a lot of people outside, you know, we put up big televisions on the back of the building, but that's not like being here. It's wonderful. Hello out there. I hope you're enjoying it. Big, big, beautiful screens. We have big screens. Not quite like being in the third row, first row, but Liam LaCastro is here, and he is a great young man. He's gone through a lot. but he's going to be better soon. Right, Liam? And I got him the most beautiful present. He's a great boy, great parents, beautiful sister. Also with us are members of New York City Firefighters Union, Local 94, the largest in the city. Thank you, fellas. Incredible people. And in their honor, Ahmad, and I think this is a big deal, because in your honor, I am announcing tonight that as president, I will officially make the Ground Zero site at the World Trade Center a national monument, protected and maintained by the United States government, so that hallowed
That's not a
ground
thing
and
already?
the memory
Wow.
of those who perished there will be preserved for all time.
Kind of figured that was already a
preserved
thing.
forever. And you deserve it. A lot of great people. I met them last week. Thank you. Thank you. Well, and I met him last week with the ceremony, and it was a beautiful ceremony, and met a lot of fantastic people. The New Yorkers who created the 9/11 National Memorial Museum really did an amazing job, didn't they? And many of them are here today, and I want to thank them. And I want to ensure that their outstanding work is sustained forever, and that's what we've done by doing this. So we are just 48 days away from the most important election in American history.
That's right.
The most important. The most. Stand up. Now you can stand up. They didn't put your name down. Turn around. Who is he? Name him. He took care of business, right? It's my man. Good. Boy, I'm glad I didn't forget you. Good guy. Good friend of mine for a long time. Whenever I had problems, I'd look at him and they'd say, let's leave Trump alone. Thank you, man. Thank you. We appreciate it. Great gentleman. Kamala Harris is for wide open borders with terrorists and criminals pouring into our country, more inflation, even higher than the last 4 years, which was a record. She wants to pack the Supreme Court. Think of that one.
Right?
And today, I heard it all. I thought they wanted maybe 11, maybe they wanted 13. That's an unlucky number, so maybe it would be 15 instead of 9. But instead of 9, Kamala wants to bring up potentially as many as 25 justices so that they can rig the system like they rig everything else, including elections. And maybe one of the worst things of all, she is a true believer. And again, I said this before, if you want to defund the police, if you've been there even for a day, in your mind you want to defund the police even for one day, you are not qualified to be the president of the United States.
That's right. She was raising money to get them out of
Because
custody
anybody
so they
who
could
wants
post
to
bail.
defund the police, we can't have it. We can't have it. It'll go down. It'll go down. We're not going to let our country fail. It's too great. And you know what? If we don't win this election, it's very possible we'll never have another chance. We
got the best mods.
You have to get out.
For sure. Shout out to the mods.
But Kamala vowed to abolish ICE. She supports free health care for illegal aliens. How about that one? You don't get free health care. These are all things that she was for years. Now, for the last little while, she's saying, no, I don't really think that was right anymore. 15 different things. She wants mass amnesty and citizenship for all illegals, which means totally bankrupting Social Security and Medicare. She wants to put illegal aliens into your Social Security and your Medicare system, which guarantees their bankruptcy.
Not going to work out well.
She says we must not utter the words illegal alien again or radical Islamic terrorist again. And think of this, during her 3.5 years, to me this is the worst thing I talk about tonight. It's unbelievable. During her period of 3.5 years, she was in charge of the border. She lost more than 325,000 migrant children, many of whom have been trafficked, raped, and many of whom are dead. Many of whom are dead. Think of what that is. That's like Yankee Stadium filled up many, many times. Think of it.
Sick.
Think of it.
Gone.
As California Attorney
Wide
General,
open border,
she
just allowed it.
redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person. I'd never heard of this. Rape of a very unconscious person as totally nonviolent crimes. She vowed repeatedly to ban fracking. She imposed a natural gas export ban that is crushing the state of Pennsylvania. I'm way up in Pennsylvania, by the way. This helps. But she's not going to let, you know, the day after the election, all of these things come back. I hope you know that. She praised the idea of a tax rate of between 70 and 80%, and her only idea for solving inflation is to impose communist-inspired price controls, which have never worked. She pledged to abolish. Does anybody here have private health care? You worked hard. She wants to abolish anybody that's worked hard and made some money. Private health care, no more private health care, and force everyone into a socialist government-run health care with high taxes and deadly wait times. And she even endorsed free sex change operations for illegal aliens in detention, all at taxpayer expense. Now think of that one. They come into the country illegally and they say, I want to change my sex. Oh, that's okay.
That's
She's
great.
totally in favor of it.
What do you want to
I'm
be?
sure she'll deny it now, but that's what she is. In 2021, Joe Biden tasked Kamala Harris with
Welcome to
bringing
America.
broadband to rural America. Rural America was dying for it and gave her $42 billion to do the job.
Terrible.
3 years later, right now, not a single home has been connected to broadband. Everyone's saying, what happened to the money?
Just get him Starlink.
$42 billion,
Cost you a lot less.
not one home. And in the Midwest, you read this, in the Midwest, they built 8 charging stations. That's like a gas pump with electricity, right? 8. They spent $9 billion to build 8 charging stations. Other than that, it really works well. I will end the electric mandate on cars immediately. And I have to say this, look, Elon Musk is great. He's a great guy. And he makes a great car. And as strong as I am on this, because I think they're incredible, but it's limited. Some people want them, and some people love them. I think they're incredible.
They are,
and
yeah.
He makes a great product, maybe the best product, I
But
hear.
you don't have to mandate
And
it.
he understands this.
And the country doesn't have to pay
Some
for
people
it.
have to go far distances. Some people don't want the additional cost. Some people don't want their car built in China. Electric cars will be built in China. I'm going to bring back the auto industry. We're going to have gasoline-powered cars. We're going to have hybrids. We're going to have electric cars. We're going to have everything. The new one is hydrogen. I heard about that the other day. Hydrogen. There's one little problem. If it blows up, you're dead. It's great until one day there's a little bit of a problem, Anthony, and it blows up. And when that happens, it's not a pretty picture. So I think I'll take a pass on that one, if you don't mind, for a while. And just today, 3 agencies of the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration, the FBI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they just released a report confirming that Iran actors hacked into the Trump campaign's email accounts and in turn sought to give the hacked materials to the Biden-Harris campaign. They gave them all of the materials because Biden is working with Iran, and Iran doesn't exactly like me because they were ready to make a deal, except we had an election that was rigged and stolen. And look at what's happening to our world now. But no, Iran hacked into my campaign. I don't know what the hell they found. I'd like to find out. Couldn't have been too exciting. But they gave it to the Biden campaign. I can't believe it. Oh, yes, I can.
That's pretty scandalous. I know that they
But
hacked
this is
it.
really foreign election
What did Biden
interference.
do with
This is
it?
real election interference, not the phony crap that they've been trying to pin on me with Russia for
Yeah, they tried
years.
that.
Whatever happened to Russia? Remember the 51 intelligence agents?
Yeah, we do.
They said, no, the laptop from hell, it's Russia. No, it was Hunter.
Yes. Obviously, they lied. That was Mike Morrell and Anthony Blinken, who's our Secretary of State. They admitted it. They worked for the CIA. They were paid contractors.
And then they finally said, all right, the Mueller, remember Mueller?
Yes.
He said, in millions of phone calls, Trump didn't make one to Russia. They went through every phone call I made. Can you imagine? In millions of calls, not one call to me. And a lot of people apologize for that, but not enough people apologize. They wasted time and money. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars going after me, and they got nothing. They got nothing. But we cannot allow this insanity to continue anymore. That's why less than 2 months from now, we are going to tell Kamala that we've had enough. Kamala, you've been a terrible vice president. You will be an even worse president. We're not going to take it anymore, Kamala. Kamala, you're fired.
Yeah!
Get out. You're fired.
Get out of here! Let's go.
We're not going to take it anymore, Kamala.
Get the heck out of here. You're fired.
That was a little line from The Apprentice, which I'm sure you haven't seen. What a great show. Was The Apprentice good or what? From the moment we take back the White House from Kamala Harris, I believe we are going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Starting on day 1, I will seal the border and stop the migrant invasion, an invasion like no country has ever seen before. We will stop it immediately. We will carry out the largest deportation operation of criminals in American history. We're getting them out of our country. We will make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. We have more than anybody else. And we have more. Think of it, we have more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than anybody else, especially when you add Anwar in Alaska, which we will reinstitute immediately. We're going to use it along with growth. We are going to grow to start paying down our debt. We have $35 trillion in national debt. We were all set to do it. And then we got hit by COVID.
Yes,
New
York. This is where Trump is, New York.
And then we gave back. You know, I got great marks on the military. We took out ISIS, wiped out ISIS 100%.
Thank you, Bat Lady. Yes.
We did it in 4 weeks. It was supposed to take 4 years, 5 years. And I got great marks on the economy. Never got great marks on COVID because they didn't want to give them to me. But the fact is, we did an unbelievable job. Nobody knew what the hell it was. It came from China. It came from the Wuhan lab. I said all these things. And we did an unbelievable job. And we handed over a country whose stock market was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in. And amazing. But we did have to focus on that. Think of what China did to us. The world has $60 trillion and millions of people dead over that disaster. Think of that. The whole world, even China suffered very much. They suffered at the end more than almost anybody. I will turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower more than it has ever been before. We're going to bring back the car industry. We're going to bring back the car industry. Other countries that make us pay a tax to do business with them will be charged the same tax when they send their product into the United States. We have countries, not only China, many countries, many of them are allies. Some of the worst trading countries are allies. Don't let that word surprise you. They're allies. They're friends of ours, and they take advantage of us horribly on the military with NATO and on trade. It will be called the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, and if China or any other country charges us a 200 or 100 or 300% tax, then we will charge them a like 100, 200, 300% tax in return. You charge us, we charge you. And my message is very simple. Make your product right here in Uniondale. Make your product in America. Make your product in America and only in America. And if you do that, Bruce, you won't have to pay a tax. And they'll be coming in here like you wouldn't believe, right? The worst that happens, we'll take in a lot of money, but we don't even want that. We want them to make their product. We're going to bring back the auto industry. Right now, China's building some of the largest auto plants in the world, and they're building them in Mexico. And they think they're going to build these massive plants, literally the biggest in the world. They're going to make millions of cars and sell them without tax across our border. We will put a tariff on all of those cars to a point where they won't be able to sell them, because we want them to build their plants in the United States and hire many of the people in this audience, and that's what's going to happen. And we also have something that's basic, but wow, people said, you're really smart. Where the hell did you think of this one? No tax on tips. So if you're a waitress, a caddy, a driver, but maybe better, no tax on overtime. And we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Unlike him with student loan debt that went nowhere, just to talk. We get it. I get it all done. Remember what they say, promises made, promises kept. That's me. And ready? Here's for the seniors. Do we have any seniors in the audience? Raise your hand. You ready? No tax on Social Security benefits. No tax on Social Security benefits. And you know why you deserve it? Because you lived like hell with the highest inflation probably in the history of our country, and you couldn't make ends meet. Now you're not going to have to pay tax on your Social Security benefit. And I will always protect Social Security and Medicare, and they won't. They're going to destroy it. They're putting the migrants all over the place, including there. And while working Americans catch up, we're going to put a temporary cap on credit card interest rates. We're going to cap it at around 10%. We can't let them make 25 and 30%. We will terminate the Green New Scam and spend trillions of dollars. We're going to take the Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in the history of our country. Remember when they used to say global warming? They don't say that anymore. They say climate change because the planet's actually getting cooler. Climate change, Chuck. Climate change is different. Just Chuck Zito. Oh, I feel safe with him in the front row. Are you afraid of climate change, Chuck? Because now it's no longer global warming because that wasn't working so well, because it was getting cooler. Now it's climate change because that covers if it's warmer, it's cooler. We're going to take all of that money, we're going to take it, and we're going to rebuild. We're going to take this money from the Green New Scam. It's a Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in history. And we're going to spend it on roads and bridges and real infrastructure. And we're going to pay down debt, not fake infrastructure that's caused massive inflation and has no benefit whatsoever for our country. And I will settle the war in Ukraine. I got along very well with Putin and Zelensky. And I will end the chaos in the Middle East. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote to obliterate Israel. That's what's going to happen. Israel will not exist in 2 years. And by the way, we are closer to World War III right now than at any time during anybody's life in this beautiful room. I will stand with Israel, and we will return a thing called peace through strength. And we're going to get it settled. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. We're not going to have war in the Middle East. We're not going to have war with Russia and Ukraine. You know, when I was there, we didn't have any war other than ISIS. I finished them off. We knocked out al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS. Think of that. We knocked them off. It was supposed to take 4 to 5 years. I did it in 4 weeks. General Raisin Kane, what's your name? Kane, sir, what's your first name? Well, they call me Raisin. I said, your name is Raisin Kane. That's the general I was looking. He did it in 4 weeks. The Russian attack on Ukraine and the October 7th attack on Israel would never have happened if I was president, would never have happened. Think of what the world would be, and think of what our nation would be with no Russia-Ukraine war, no October 7th.
As I was explaining, sorry, my mic was muted. I got to start wrapping it up here in a few minutes. I didn't realize he was going to be going so long, but I got to get out the door here for a class that I've got coming up here in just a little bit. So I am going to say what's up to some of these super chats that came in. Cheryl, what's up? Thank you, Cheryl. Says, you do the best commentary. The Spice Girl prosecutors was a fun comment, and snort on that one. And of course, thank you for that, Cheryl. Very nice dono. And we have fun on that. Bruce Rice brought in 20 new membos. Great to have you, Bruce. And welcome aboard, new membo friends. 20 of you coming in the house. Patriot Rob says, no taxes on 401ks after you hit 55 years old, which is a good start. And then it can go to the rest of us. Janiel, what's up? Janiel Vargas says, let's win this, Rob. 7 more weeks to go, baby. No doubt about that. Thank you, Daniel, for that one. Thanks for being here. And C. John, 18 months as a membo, says 2 babies and I see more coming. Thanks for keeping us informed on what's important to America. C. John, thanks for that, man. That's 18 months. We've seen some serious stuff. Really glad that you're here. Thanks for being here for full 18 months and for supporting our work on it. Patriot Rob says, what is the criteria for malicious prosecution? Great question. Tony Hay Munkets is here. 20 new membos coming in from Tony Hay Munkets in the house. We're very glad to have you, Tony Hay. Thanks for bringing in 20 new friends. Glad to have everybody here. Sheila Poo is in the house, says welcome. Hit the like button. Thanks for sharing the channel as well. Thank you, Sheila. And we had the others. Sheila brought in new membos. Zach Richardson was in the house. Thank you, Zach. We appreciate you being here. We also want to say what's up to our friends over on Locals and Locals friends. If we don't get to your comments today, we're not going to get to all of them today. We'll come back and we'll hit a lot of this up in the morning on our members only stream in the morning. But some shout outs that we had over here on Locals. We had some tips that came in, some very nice ones that are not loading at the moment. And so Radice says, is that an extra schmedium shirt in the house? And Radice, it is extra medium. This is 1 size smaller than it was yesterday, a 0.5 size smaller than it was yesterday. Rick Donner is laughing in the Locals comments, and we had some other good stuff over there. Let's see if I can get this to work. If Locals will work for us, we do. Milo Phone Bill is here, says, I started listening to Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. The key breakaway so far is about open source learning. Knox is here, says, happy Wednesday all. Old P. Diddy will be in protective custody in a yellow jumpsuit when we see him next. I bet he will not be in general. My guys would kick his booty and stick his head in the toilet for fun. Says, there was a rough scene in court today. Not my client, but it was in my courtroom. There was a Houston man who was murdered by an ex-girlfriend, has a history of domestic violence, got life in prison today. Oh, not yikes. Hey, Ryan PD's in the house. What's up, Ryan PD? Says, just renewed for another year. Robert, thanks for that. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for re-upping here on Locals. We appreciate that. Great to have you for another year, my man. It's going to be good. Former says, hopefully you watched the presser with the black journalist yesterday. They asked questions and Kamala answered a different question. Journalist called her on that. Says Kamala just locked up and froze for about 15 seconds, almost as if the puppet master was telling her the answer and she had to get the complete answer over her earpiece before she started her answer. Kind of makes you wonder. From Former. Lady Ice says, hey, we made the counter so we can keep track, not counting the bomb scare, but something's hokey about that whole story. Barrier was moved, dog sniffs out the bomb, suspect runs into the woods, then the local authority says false alarm, the fake bomb goes off, fake bomb call. Said some local, as in part of the security detail, bomb sniffing dog. but it was false. Wonder what they asked to do. Radicy, good to see you. ELZ says, they should do it like the old days. Let Diddy post a $10 million bail, and if he skips, take that money and put out a wanted poster, a $10 million reward, wanted for P. Diddy, dead or alive. What's up? Radicy is in the house. And my friends on Locals, we'll come back in the morning and we'll wrap up the rest of those comments. Sorry we didn't get to those today. I didn't think Trump was going to talk for an hour plus. I think he went for like an hour and 40 minutes. Is that what it was? It's a long talk. So, my friends, we're going to leave it there. I got to head out the door. But thanks for joining us while we got to wrap up here with Trump. We are going to come back, Locals, friends in the morning. We'll catch up on those comments and those donos. But it's been a heck of a stream. And so, my friends, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the comments. Sorry we couldn't attend to them right now. We'll make up for it in the morning. Membos, stick around. We'll see you back here in the morning. But my friends, thanks for joining us. I hope you have a beautiful evening and a beautiful, very restful sleep. We'll see you back here tomorrow to get into it again. Until then, I hope you're out there getting after it and making it a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.